Hey, everyone. Oh my gosh, I did not mean to show the screen just yet. Let me take that off. How's everyone doing? Hi, Carla. It's great to see you. Thanks for joining
Hi.
me.
Thank
Hi.
you for having me. Oh, there's the
What's your
audience.
dog's what's your dog's name?
So the Labradoodle is Zoom,
Is that
and
who we just heard?
yes, he's
Okay.
actually 9 months old today, and the Maltipoo is 13 years old.
Wow. Woof. Okay. My cat will probably hear them. She's up behind this door. This is a patio. There's a balcony that way, so you're only seeing the drape. But she's like higher than the door. She's up in the in on the balcony about 7 feet up. She's
No worries.
sleeping. So hey everyone, it's nice to see you, Jacelyn. Thank you. I am getting there. Today I really felt more like myself. I hope my voice holds up. And yeah, the extortion defense was really bizarre. So thank you for your well wishes. I appreciate that. It was very bizarre. And Judy, nice to see you. Oh, you've watched it 3 times. Okay. So our goal tonight is to go through the cross-examination. Now it's 2 hours long, so we'll do as much as we can. And I've watched it myself and then with mentor lawyer last night, but I was trying not to listen too much to him. But honestly, a lot of what he said I saw too, because he sees it as a lawyer and I'm going to see it as a potential juror, right? But and also I'm trying not to see it as I would see it, but if I really didn't know anything about the case, what I would be thinking. So yeah. And so T. Cancella, hello. Yes, I'm feeling a bit better and I can talk, at least for the moment. So I hope I can last.
That's okay. If you
Hi,
lose your
True.
voice, don't worry about it. Either I will fill in for you or Zoom will help us.
Yeah. Okay. But I got to tell you, every time Georgia has a question, I might want to pause, right? Because it was powerful. I know a lot of people, I thought it'd be good to do this because we're nervous, right? Because we know that if Charlie gets, well, if he gets a hung jury, he's going to stay in jail and get retried, just like Katie, right? If the state chooses to do that. And I would imagine they would. But if he got acquitted, I think we would all be just so upset because we know that if he does get convicted, we know that George's questioning, especially in this trial, has been about Wendy's involvement. And so she seems to be setting the stage for other family members, don't you think? I mean, it seems like it to me. There's a lot of those questions. Why would she ask those things if not for setting the stage for a future trial?
I think she's dropping breadcrumbs. There's more to come. There's definitely more to come. And we've learned more, right? And we know that we don't know everything. We know a lot about the case, but we don't know everything that they've discovered, that they've kept out of the public's eye. But she's definitely dropping breadcrumbs.
Right. I love it. I love it. And by the way, Carla and I met in the chat at, I can't even remember which chat because there have been so
I
many.
don't know.
It's been such a great week. I feel like I've been bar hopping all week, like just going from one chat to the other.
I agree.
So great. It's been so great. Who will do the closing arguments? I feel like, I'm feeling because they have a closing argument and then the defense has their closing and then the prosecution has a rebuttal. So the question is, will Sarah do the closing and would Georgia do the rebuttal? I'm still not all there, you guys. I took a lot of cough medicine and stuff. I feel like Georgia might do the rebuttal because she did most of the questioning. And so the juror has most of a relationship with her. And so she would be the last voice that they hear before going into deliberations. And Sarah has we love both of their styles, but they're different, right? So, and I think she could be more pointed. And I do think that the closing argument does call for a more pointed, clipped pace. And we know that Georgia, that's just my feeling. And that's just my personal feeling. And so Georgia is really great at what she does in keeping it calm, cool, and collected, right? I mean, they both do, but I just feel that way. What do you think, True? Oh, most people are thinking that, yeah.
I really liked the way that Sarah opened. And I think she brought things together quite clear, especially for the jurors that are on there that don't really know the case. Sure. I felt that she tied all these little pieces together, and I won't use the word puzzle, but I feel like she brought all of these pieces together where it makes sense. So in my opinion, it only makes sense that she closes now that we know what this ridiculous defense theory is. And you're right. I agree. I think Sarah's or Georgia will do the rebuttal.
Okay. It makes sense. I think that's what's going to happen. Well, we're going to talk about closing arguments. And I think a lot of people feel like the closing arguments should be part of, the cross, for yesterday. I mean, yesterday seemed like it left, but it really.
I have to interrupt you, Dawn. Amelie, I pointed it out to her a couple of times. That's my niece's name. So when I see it, it brings a smile to my face. So hi, Amelie.
Amelie, and thank you. Yeah, Georgia's developed this relationship, and you would think she'd be the one to send them off, and let's hope we get a quick verdict, because we know generally what that would mean. Oh gosh, this is so scary. I'm nervous.
I'm not nervous. Is that weird? I feel like Dan is leading, and I feel like he is making sure that accountability is had. And I'm not nervous. I'm not nervous because I don't think he's going to get off. I don't think it's going to be a not guilty. I think it's either going to be guilty or a hung jury. And if it's a hung jury, he will be retried. I'm not concerned at all. I'm really not.
Yeah. Everyone's happy to meet you, Carla. Yeah, and I am too. By the way, we're practically neighbors. So we met in a chat. And I mean, I could walk to her house. So it's really great. Okay. So, and then thank you for the reminder. Somebody reminded us that tonight we're supposed to turn our clocks back. So here's what I want to know from the chat. How long, do you want us to go? Do you want me? Because I don't know if Carla can stay that long, but it's a 2-hour closing. There's going to be a lot of conversation in between. So it might be a 3-hour live stream if we do it all in one, or do we want to do an hour and then an hour? So just weigh in on the chat, and you don't have to decide right now. But I mean, I could, if my voice holds up, I'll stay on and get it done, because there's no time like the present. And tomorrow I've got things to do. Football, a lot of football. So if I did the second half tomorrow, it wouldn't be until 8:30 my time, which is like 11:30 on the East Coast. So that's going to be kind of late.
Well, the time changes at 2, right? 2 in the morning, 1 in the morning, something like that. And only everyone except Alaska and Hawaii, I believe.
Yeah. Okay, Sarah is a fast-paced storyteller and can speak faster. She'll close to get it all over with. Yeah, and that would be really refreshing too, after that slow back and forth, whatever you want to call it. It wasn't really questioning, leading through the story, right? Leading through the story that Rashbaum did. Hey, Society Page. Okay, let's get to it. Hey, we got to get going here. We've got 2 hours to cover. I did some fancy graphics here. I hope you like it. I hope it doesn't freeze on me. Here we go.
This is when they're making sure that the audio was going.
And I love this because Charlie is sweating it out right now. Just sweating it out right now. And look at, he's like the way Jeffrey Lacasse described him, this hyperactive child playing around with his head. He can't sit still. Okay, here we go.
Is it doctor?
It is his.
All right, doctor. Have you ever heard the saying that the simplest explanation is always the most likely? Have you heard that?
I've heard that theory before, yeah.
Was your explanation to the jury over the last little over a day the simplest explanation?
It was the truth.
You have a thorough explanation. Would you agree with that?
I told you what happened.
That was a Wendy answer.
Mm-hmm.
And by the way, I thought that was an excellent opening statement, just an opening, because that's going to resonate with the jury.
Do you agree that the only problem with having an explanation for everything is that there's just so many explanations?
There's no explanation. I explained what happened.
So what is an explanation but explaining what happened? I mean, he can't even agree to agree. So he's coming off right away as, I don't know if you guys caught that, but I thought it was hilarious. And by the way, the doctor trap, I love it. Oh, that's so funny. Society page. Can you guys hear okay? Is the volume good? Let me know.
I want to go through some of that. You claim that
Sorry, I had to clip it there.
I want to go through some of that. You claim that you were extorted on July 18th, 2014 by Catherine Magbanua, and also in the background, some Latin kings, probably Garcia and Rivera, right? Is that accurate?
No, I wasn't extorted by Catherine Magbanua.
You weren't.
Okay, that's not what
I know I'm supposed to be talking about Georgia's questions here, but he can't even pronounce Catherine's last name. He's so drug-addled. And Carla, if you want me to stop, just shout out, pause, like Katie used to do. That's how it rolls. Or anyone in the chat. Okay.
I believed in 2014.
Okay, I'm sorry. I understood you to say you believe that today.
Today I do, yes.
All right, so who extorted you?
I believe that it was Catherine Magbanua's friend that she ran her mouth to.
Okay.
And
And
that's 2014.
Right, but as you sit here today, you think it's Magbanua, Garcia, and Rivera. Is that accurate?
No, that's not accurate.
Okay. Who extorted you?
As I sit here today, I believe that it was Catherine Magbanua, and I believe Sigfredo Garcia, but I don't know for sure. I was never there when she was ever talking to him, so I don't know if he was in on it with her or not.
All right.
So I think right there, she's talking in played terms, like the jury will be thinking, what did he just say? What is he trying to say? What did you say? And he's showing that he's confused. He doesn't even know who supposedly extorted him. And so I think Georgia did a great job just honing in on, like, help us figure this out, because we just heard you talk for how long, and now you don't even seem to know what's up. Is that what your impression is, you guys?
Yeah, I think that he's definitely remembering the story that he has concocted, number one, and had time to really hone in on. And so let me make sure that I remember the sequence of events correctly, so this makes sense. So people say, oh my gosh, yes, he was extorted.
Right. And I was surprised she didn't say, because we know that if you tell the truth, you don't have to remember details. Everyone knows that. I mean, whatever that saying is, right? So people who lie, it's not effortless. People who lie are going to get tripped up on details, right? And he's got to be exhausted. I mean, just jail alone is exhausting. So,
and they wake him up, Ron. I don't know if you know, but they wake him up every day at like 3 a.m.
That's right. That's right. It's awful. I wouldn't last a minute in jail. We're going to get to this part later, but I'll keep it. I'll hold my thought there.
Not think she was guilty. We got that right. The time of the extortion.
2014.
Yes.
Correct.
Okay. And then so exactly when you found out would be, I think you said, her trial.
That I suspected that she was not telling me the truth and she was a part of it was in 2019.
At her trial?
Yes.
All right.
So again, he can't just say yes at her trial when I was able to see what the testimony. I mean, she just cannot even agree with the question. He's rephrasing it way too much. And he didn't do that with his own lawyer. So I think the jury's going to notice it. And I love that Georgia did this, because she's so calm and she's like, okay, let me get this straight. I'm trying to she's not getting impatient with him, and she's just like the jury's probably thinking, what exactly did he say? We're going to figure this out. We're going to have to figure this out in the deliberation room. Well, she's keeping it really simple. Like, she's not saying I'm confused, but she's allowing him to get confused. And I just think it's masterful the way she handled it personally.
And so she was arrested in 2016, right?
Yes,
All right. So for 3 years, she was in the Leon County Jail awaiting trial. Yes.
she was there.
And you believed she was innocent.
Yes,
And you had this whole explanation to assist with exonerating her, right?
I have the truth of what happened. Yes.
But you didn't offer the truth of what happened, did you?
Nobody came to me. I thought the truth would come out.
Does someone have to come to you?
I was told not to talk to Katie and not to talk to anybody about it.
Another Wendy answer. I was told by my attorneys not to speak to anyone. But as a juror, I'd be like, dude, this dude was being extorted for however much money, and he didn't ask for help from the police. And I think
Right.
this was a really great question, the way she expressed it. And she was just like, this is implausible. And she's just very natural and down to earth. Okay. She's not coming off like a lawyer to me. She's masterful because she's coming off as just a human, just a juror off the street, trying to make sense of the story.
This case by counsel.
Okay. So you
Ooh, good point, Wally.
strike that.
I thought that too. I
On
was
day one,
waiting.
which is July 18th, 2014, she is the only one that physically contacted you to conduct this extortion. Am I correct in that?
Yes, you are.
So you never actually had any contact with any Latin King?
No,
No phone calls?
no phone call.
No texts?
No.
No letters?
Well, in 2016, you're talking about in 14, right?
I'm talking about the first layer of the extortion. Did you have any contact with the thugs that were getting your money for 2 years?
No.
Did anybody put a gun to your head?
I was told that I would be killed in 48 hours if I didn't pay up.
I heard you say that, but my question is, did anyone put a gun to your head?
You asked me, did anyone pull a gun on me?
That's another Wendy move.
Nobody.
Exactly. Rephrasing the question, trying to maintain control. It does not look good. It does not
And
look good. But
adding their spin to it, and later on we'll get to it, but I made some notes because that's the way my brain works. So
Yeah.
when he gets to the part talking about Bree, he doesn't want to make her seem less than. So when Georgia asks him who she is, he says, the father or the mother of my child. She started working for Dave after she graduated college. Like, who cares?
Oh, yeah.
It's irrelevant.
Yeah.
It's irrelevant.
Oh, yeah, for sure. Oh yeah. Yep.
He pulled the firearm on me.
All right, so when Catherine Magbanua came to you on July 18th and said, open the safe and give me all your money, she was not armed.
She was not carrying a gun that day,
And
no.
were you?
No, she was not armed. He refuses. And this is probably why she didn't ask. A lot of people were criticizing for not asking yes or no. Well, first of all, you wouldn't start out that way. You want to see where this guy's going to go, right? But he is not coming off as someone who is at all innocent. I'm surprised she didn't say, you could have, when we arrested you, you had an opportunity to speak with us. Why didn't you report this crime? If that's what you believe. Yeah.
Were you armed at that time? Did you have a weapon in your home?
I had weapons in my safe, yes.
That's right.
Were you led to believe or told that the bad guys are outside, right outside your apartment or your residence?
No, but I was led to believe what they did to Dan, they were going to do to me.
I heard you say that, but my question is, did she say, like, the car's running, I'm going to take the money out there to him right now?
No, she never told me that they were waiting for me outside my house.
In fact,
So another masterful thing, instead of getting, like a lot of lawyers would take the upper, like DeCoste did with Wendy. I'm the one asking the questions, right? Georgia's not doing that. Georgia's, first of all, she's female, and she's going to let him bully her a little bit, and she's not taking offense. She's just like, yes, that's what I asked you, or that's not what I asked you, when he does do that. But yeah, he's buying time and just trying so hard to take control. I know. Exactly, Kara. Exactly. It's crazy.
In fact, she stayed the night with you, didn't she?
Yes, she did.
And didn't exit your house with your $138,000 until the next day, right?
Correct.
So, that's a perfect question for the jury to consider. He's being shaken down, basically, but she sleeps over. She doesn't put a gun to his head.
And she takes the time to count $138,000.
But if you listen to Katie's proffer, she said, I don't know, money was in her trunk of her car. Trunk of her car. They went to sleep. She took a Xanax. God knows what else he's given her, but she woke up. He said, it's in the car. It's in your trunk. So he took her keys to her car and put it in her trunk. Because she didn't want her
money.
He didn't want her to handle the money. I don't think it was moldy until a couple days later.
Oh.
My impression.
And the money, the $138,000, was that stapled into $1,000 increments?
Each packet was $1,000, and they had a staple in it.
And stapling money's a little unusual. Would you agree with that?
For me, it wasn't unusual. That's what I did.
Right, but nobody else does it. That's why I'm suggesting it's unusual.
I've never questioned people into how they keep their money, whether they keep it with a staple or a paper clip or an envelope. I just know what I do.
Would you agree, doctor, that it's a compelling piece of evidence that the killers were paid in stapled money and came up with that information in this case?
It's not compelling. The people who extorted me and got my money got it from my house, and it was stapled at my house.
They had to have.
Okay, so we know he's already admitting to all these facts, but now he's testified to them. So it's going to be very hard if he is found guilty for him to ever get out of this. This is an all or nothing thing. He just said it, and that's just, the jury's got to be thinking, why would he? This doesn't make sense.
Gotten it from you, right? Because it was stapled.
If they got it from Katie, they got it from me.
So it had to be some kind of, I paid, but I did it under duress, based on that piece of evidence, right? That had to be built into your defense.
I was extorted, and I paid the money.
All right, so Katie comes in and she's in a panic, and she tells you what's happened. And I need all the money in your safe right now. Do you suspect that maybe she's working with the police at that point? Maybe she's trying to set you up?
No, she didn't say I need all the money in your safe. That's not what she said.
Did she take all the money in your safe?
I cleaned out all the money in my safe.
Okay, he's railroading her because she wanted him to answer whether he suspected she was working with the police the way he did with the bump. Okay, so we're going to get to that, but she is letting him talk. A lot of people didn't like that. It wasn't yes or no. It usually is, but they're not talking. So you have to believe that since he refused to be interviewed, Wendy has refused any future interviews in 9 years. And of course, the mother and father, she's trying to get information out of him as well. And we don't know what else they have. So, and using doctor at particular times, not every single question, right, is again, calling attention to, you're supposed to be smart. We're supposed to respect doctors, and you want us to believe this. So I do believe she handled it very well. I wouldn't have been so nice. I wouldn't have been able to do it.
And also, Dawn, the fact that he sees himself as above others, including her, to be quite honest with you. This
he does.
Back and forth.
Yeah. She's bringing out both things. He's supposed to be intelligent, but it's not plausible. You're expecting us to believe this, but she's not saying that. Yeah. And he did. So Pappy's bringing the humor. June's bag runneth over with empty. It sure does. She has nothing. But but for those who have seen June's proffer, yeah, I mean,
Katie.
Magdana was proffer. He basically, because he got to read or see all of that as well. So he took her story and flipped it. So that's interesting. But of course, they don't have that. It's not necessary probably for the prosecution to point out every single detail, because we'd be here another week.
Right. Why did you do that?
Because I was being extorted for $250,000.
But why didn't you? The bump was only $5,000, and you immediately became suspicious and questioning and had all these conversations and deliberations about what to do about it for days. When Katie comes to you, you just open the safe and give her the money, right?
That's what I did. And there's a big difference between the two.
Okay, well, the way that it was done to you, is that the way it's done?
You have to be more specific.
Well, on the wire, you say repeatedly, that's not the way it's done. You knew that the undercover agent was law enforcement, or at least strongly suspected, because that's not the way it's done. And my question to you is, since you're an expert on extortion, because you've been extorted before and that's how you knew that's not the way it's done, is this the way it's done? Do extortionists send a girlfriend of their victim to collect their extortion money? Is that the way it's done, Doc?
Is that the way it's done, Doctor? Again, her questions are perfect. I think this is exactly what was called for. I'm sure that Sarah would have done a great job too. It would have turned out totally different. But he has, and he will throughout the questioning here, has just demonstrated an incredible distrust for law enforcement and the government. He's one of those types, right? He obviously didn't trust the police or her enough to report that he was being extorted, blah, blah, blah. So she's coming off as so soft. She's not coming off as aggressive at all. And her questions are, again, like somebody would ask them if they were just an average juror off the street, in my opinion. I just think it's masterful. And she's getting out such important points, because he did go talk about how he was, I know how these things work, right? He blah, 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 blah on the wiretaps, that he knew how extortions worked. And now this is his story. It's unfathomable.
I'm telling you what happened to me. And I was told that if I didn't pay in 48 hours, I would be killed. The person that came and extorted my mom, that was not the same approach as what happened to me.
Is that the only way? That's the only way it's done? They send the girlfriend?
It's the only time I've ever been extorted like that.
Okay. And did you hear any of the negotiate? So they come in and they say, strike. They come in and they say, we need $333,000.
You need to pay $333,000.
You need to pay $333,000. Why not $1 million?
Because
Again, I think that's an excellent question. What a weird number. So this has to fit, just the puzzle pieces have to fit just right? That's where this is all going to end up with Rashbaum's closing. I mean, it's all he has. And I would venture to guess that Rashbaum really didn't want this. I mean, I would guess that the Adelsons wanted him to try this all or nothing type of defense. Because what else would he didn't have it. They knew he would lose.
I don't even think that puzzle has even been taken out of the plastic wrap it comes in.
Oh, he's going to try. I mean, I don't either. He's going to put it together, but it's not plausible. And by the way, yeah, so somebody was asking, is Georgia, Pappy. Georgia is senior to Sarah, but Sarah is senior also. So, I mean, she's not mentoring her anymore. Sarah's rather seasoned, I believe, at this point.
I had told to Katie,
according to Mentor,
that the $1 million offer for Dan Markel, I said I was going to pay $333,000. And when she asked me, do you have that much money? And I said, yeah, I could pay it in cash. So she took it as I had cash, and she knew I had a ton of cash in my safe. So she thought I had the cash. I didn't have all that cash. So that's where I'm assuming they got the $1/3 of $1 million from.
But the
idea.
offer that she bragged about was $1 million offer, isn't that right? That she ran her mouth about.
I was never there when she spoke to her friend.
Okay, was it $1 million offer?
The offer was that $1 million was going to be paid, and I was going to pay a third of $1 million.
And weren't you going to cover Wendy's third as well?
No, not at all. I was going to cover my third.
Didn't your lawyer say in opening statement that you were going to cover the whole thing for Wendy's third?
No, I was sitting here. I heard what he said. Charlie was going
We
to pay
did
a third of
too.
$1 million.
All right. And so the
But here, right here, and I don't think Georgia does make this really clear. And I think on this one, you guys tell me, if Katie was the one who knew he had a third of $1 million hanging out because he was shooting his mouth off to Katie about their stupid idea about paying off Dan, right? And he was supposed to pay a third. So Katie knew he had a third. Why didn't he suspect Katie was extorting him until 2019? That doesn't even make sense. And
Because
so,
him, hindsight is 2020.
no, but at the time, I mean, if somebody said, I need a third of $1 million or we're going to hurt your family or whatever, how do you know I have I mean, his brain would have said, oh, she's the only one who knew I had a third of $1 million at the time.
But his logic is, well, I noticed she always needed money, so it couldn't have been the money was going to her. It was really going to these people.
Right. But that kind of came later with the payment plan.
Right. The
So-
murder. Right. The murder on the OS.
It's
Right.
so crazy. But I probably would have just said, what I'm talking about is George's question. Like, so wouldn't that make you suspect Katie? Because she's the one who knew you
The
had
one
that
who knew.
money. Yeah, right there. Shut it down. But that's okay. Let's keep going on this. I don't know.
On this train wreck.
Dream walk.
The offer was $1 million offer, and that's what you told Katie, along with the fact that you were going to cover the third.
I was telling her that I was going to pay a third of $1 million. Yeah. And then one day, if my sister was able to, she was going to pay me back.
And then you didn't have the amount of money that was being demanded at the time, right?
No, I only had what I had.
All right. And at that point, the blackmailer, Catherine Magbanua, negotiates some type of layaway plan for you to complete the extortion with the Latin Kings.
Okay. Katie wasn't the blackmailer, and Katie wasn't the one who was extorting me.
Didn't you just tell this jury that Katie was the blackmailer? You realized it in 2019.
I had thought that when you were just talking, you were talking about 2014. You were talking about that night.
Okay.
So that's night happened in
Doctor.
2014.
Okay. We all know now.
I love how she handled that, because that's exactly what the jury's thinking. Like, wait a minute, wait. Okay, but here, this is where I have something I want to propose.
Now, because you have revealed the puzzle piece. She's a blackmailer. Can we agree on that?
I believe sitting here in 2023
Yes.
that she was in on the extortion for sure.
Yes. So is it okay if I refer to her as a blackmailer?
I think there's a difference between blackmail and extortion, but yeah,
Okay.
sitting here today, we can.
We'll refer to her as an extortionist.
I mean, is argumentative as he's going to be? Okay, she's an extortionist. Okay.
So this woman, the extortionist, is going to do you a solid by negotiating with the Latin Kings for you to get on a payment plan for the extortion. Isn't that what happened?
What you're doing is you're taking what we know in 2003 and trying to say, this is what I knew in 2014.
Did she put you on a payment plan?
Yes, she said, because I didn't have the money, she said, ask me if I could pay $3,000 a month.
Right there. That is a perfect question. I mean, he couldn't say no. So now he's on record as saying he was on a payment plan for an extortion
Right.
with a woman who extorted him and then slept overnight with him. I mean, come on. And he didn't record their conversation. You know, he didn't have security in his house It doesn't make sense. Anyway, I love Georgia's questionings. I know Pappy said it's kind of a wash, and sometimes that's all you need is a wash, but I do think she, you know, in terms of points throughout a trial, you're up and down, right? There's always winners and losers throughout, but overall, it's not less. She's not in the negative, Georgia, and I do think she got some really good points across for her closing and for the record for future, hopefully, arrests and convictions.
And actually, that's a really good point
said, yes, I can.
that Kara's making, because remember, Luis testified against the Latin Kings. So essentially, he's not a part of them anymore, right? So why didn't the rest take over?
And I thought the same thing. I thought the same thing when I was thinking about this today, because I mean, the whole thing, hi, go Georgia. The whole thing is so implausible that I didn't even consider it. It's just like, that's just so dumb. It was overwhelmingly stupid. I felt like my brain just went down in intelligence. Like, I don't know how many points. I don't have that much to spare in the first place. After listening to that, I was just like, but I couldn't even listen to the whole thing. Honestly, raise your hand if you listen to the entire questioning from Rashbaum to Charlie. I think it was like 9 hours, 8 hours one day, and then another hour on Friday. I couldn't listen to the whole thing. So yeah. But again, I think Georgia's questions are right on point. And I made the little Maestro license plate because I was looking for that. A couple people mentioned that earlier in the chat. And the lead into that would have been, but it might have been too distracting, for her to bring in that right now. But we know that he considered himself the Maestro. It may come up in closing. We don't know. But, and then I made this graphic for tonight, last night. And then I noticed Mentor Lawyer was also disappointed that Georgia didn't bring up the whole Maestro thing. And he said somebody needs to do a graphic. And I was like, I did that.
Did you hear any of the conversation where she was making these negotiations on your behalf?
No, when she said, I'm going to go check with my friend, and if that's okay with him, she took her purse, took her keys, took her cell phone. She walked out of my front door, closed the door behind her, and I sat in my living room, and she came back about 5 minutes later.
You didn't want to talk to the guy yourself?
No, I didn't even think of that. I mean, but she went outside to call him.
I love that. Charlie saying, no, I'm going to have to do a GIF of that. No, I didn't think of that, because he thinks of everything, right? That's his brand. That's precious.
All right. And then the two of you took a Xanax and went to sleep.
Well, I took a Xanax. I don't know if she took one out of the bottle, but I definitely did. And the next morning she left.
So now he's covering his tracks that he didn't actually give her the Xanax. She stole it from her, from his bottle. I mean, so now he's implying she's stealing prescription drugs from him.
With your money.
And what's interesting about that is that if he fell asleep and she stayed awake, why didn't she steal from him? Why didn't she take something? Why didn't, these people waiting out in the car come in and destroy his home, So once again.
Right. It just does not add up. Hey, go Georgia. It's really good to see you. We've got Carla tonight. And somebody I'm sorry, Wally, I believe, said he wants to know more about you, but we have so much to cover. We kind of did a quick intro, so we all want to know more. But we'll get there.
So that's about 8:30 the next morning.
That's July 19th, 2014.
Correct.
Let's talk about what you did that day. You did not report this to the police because you were in fear, correct?
Absolutely.
And you didn't report this to Wendy, even though, according to you, her life was in danger too, correct?
Potentially, but I planned on paying the extortion every month.
All right. But you did go to the gym that morning, right? Could we show that text, please?
Now, think about why she asked this.
Were you able to go to the gym the next morning?
I absolutely didn't leave the house. I worked it out at Nova Southeastern Gym. You can check the gym records. I was never there.
Okay. Did you say you were going to the gym?
I said I was, yeah.
So why would she ask that? She's asking that because she's showing his willingness to lie to his friends. For what reason? We don't know, but she's pointing out his willingness to lie.
You didn't actually go.
No, I didn't leave the house.
All right. So would you agree, Doctor, and we'll refresh your memory with them if we can, that the text messages that were exchanged between yourself and Catherine McBanois on the morning after this exchange of money were inconsistent with your extortion theory?
They were inconsistent with how I was feeling.
They don't appear to look like you just gave her $138,000 under duress, do they?
She told me the last thing she said to me before she left the house is, can we just pretend like this never even happened? So when I sent her that message, I was trying to show her, like, I'm trying to forget all about it.
Yeah, you were just demonstrating to her that you would agree to pretend nothing happened, right?
Absolutely. That's what she asked me to do, and that's what I tried to do.
So the text messages aren't what they appear to be. It's a beautiful day. I'm going to the pool. I'm going to the beach. I'm going to the gym. None of that is what it appears to be. It's something else.
I absolutely did not go to the gym. I was trying to show her that I was, pretending like nothing ever happened and looking past it.
And there's
But I
nothing
wasn't.
on the wire. All those hours of you talking. There is nothing on the wire about the extortion, this layer 1 of extortion, because she told you not to talk about it, right?
She told me to never talk about anything to anyone or her. She never wanted to hear about it again.
Yesterday,
The one thing I wondered about, you guys, and you tell me what you think, Carla, instead of going along with his, because what she's doing is she's like, okay, let's go along with your story, right? She's almost sounding like I think she's validating it to some degree by not calling it a story, right? And by continuing to call it an extortion in layer 1 and layer 2, I think she's validating it a little bit by doing that. Do you know what I'm saying? I would have liked her to be a little bit more clear and remind here and there throughout the questioning for 2 hours that we're really just on a little yellow brick road here. Do you understand? What did you think?
Yeah, no, I agree. I'm going to be just very honest. I can't get over how indignant he comes across.
Oh.
Like there are several times, and I sit there and I think about not the jurors that may have heard about the story, but about the ones who have not.
Correct.
And how off-putting it is. So I made it very far in the jury selection. I actually got eliminated like the second to last group. And I got to tell you, I learned so much going through the process. It was a criminal trial. Dawn, you may have heard of it. It was from 2017, I want to say. Anyway, a young girl was killed, was taken out in the boonies. She was killed. They just, what they did to this girl was just unfathomable. And I have to tell you that I had never heard of the case, so I was a perfect juror. Okay. I had never heard of it. And the way that they explained it made a big difference. And the way that these defendants looked, some of them were actually giggling while the prosecutor was making remarks. And it was very off-putting. It was very off-putting. Yeah.
Wow. There's a trial coming up here, Carla, that I have my eye on. It was
next year.
Yep, January, I believe. It was supposed to be October too. October is a busy month for trial. Everybody's back from their summer vacations. Yeah, I want to go at least one day to that one. Okay.
It's interesting that you bring that up because I was there for jury selection. They were there for one of the trials, so I met Maya's sister. And it was a very brief interaction, but I did wish them well. And I think it's been pushed back even more, Dawn, because he doesn't have any more money. He ran out of money.
Yeah, and his attorney is a mess. I don't know if you've seen her in any of the hearings, but she is
Yeah.
just so
She's all over
bad.
the place.
He might as well have
Mhm.
me be an attorney. I mean, he might as well. He might have to. Well, he can get a public defender. You know.
Yeah. Yeah. But we digress.
But we digress. I know we're talking about another trial now. This is what we do. We try not to do that. And so Polo's mama says indignant. He tells Georgia, "You are wrong." I mean, he is so brazen and
Yeah.
disrespectful. No humility. He can
No.
sell you He can sell you crypto. Oh, bad.
Say,
Yuck.
in your testimony between you and your attorney, you mentioned the word extortion 123 times. Would you take my word for that?
I'm sure it came up a lot.
Okay. But nowhere, even in the midst of this whole second extortion, it's happening again. It's an extension of the same thing.
So this is what I meant. So she's saying, okay, you brought up the word extortion 120 times with your attorney. So let's bring it up 120 more time, right? She's just embedding it more by going along with it and not being more clear that she's not buying it. Like, use a different word, okay? Well, he insists it's extortion. I would call it fake extortion or extortion excuse, or you know what I'm saying? I'd like have made up another word. My brain's not working that good. I'll think of one while we're doing this, but I'm sure the chat could think of one, but fake extortion or faux extortion. You're
Right.
faux extortion, something like that would have gone a long way, I think, personally. But
do you mention anything about this layer one of the extortion? Do you?
Yes, actually, I did.
Okay.
If you pull up the video from Matsuri when I was sitting with my dad, and I said, and the funny thing is, that's what I whispered in his ear.
Right, but we can't hear that.
Right, because that's my point. I never wanted anybody to hear what had happened. I never wanted the police to come talk to me. But if you put up that video, you'll actually see me saying that into my dad's ear, and that's why I went in and said it.
if you put up that video, so he's willing to like order her around, and he did this throughout the questioning too. Well, go do this or show me that. It doesn't ask me, I see that, or would you like to, no, just go put up that video, lady. I can just imagine what kind of man this was. And she could have said, oh, how convenient. That's convenient, isn't it?
Yeah,
she could have done a little bit more to let the jury know. Yeah.
The one little snippet that happens not to have been recorded is what he's saying. Well, there you go. That was the minute.
Right.
You missed it.
Right. And if you look at it, you can see, he's trying to get her to go run and look at the video. And now we're going to have this challenge. And there was, that happened in the Alex Murdaugh trial. Do you remember that? Was he saying this or was he saying that? And it went on. I mean, it was a whole day of listening to this 2-word thing on a recording of whether he said one thing or another under his breath. So she wasn't going to fall for that circus act, but she could have just said something like, well, that's so convenient. Let's move on,
Right.
That's what we were talking about at the time. So
At Matsuri, the only time you mention the extortion, it's in a whisper that is not picked up by the microphones, right?
Intentionally, yes.
Yes. And that was intentional at the time, but it sucks for your defense, right? Because that would be a huge piece of evidence for you to show this jury, wouldn't it?
No, I think you'd come up with a reason why that I said it anyway.
And there's nobody to corroborate this testimony?
There is.
Okay. And the Matsuri, you talked about it again out in the parking lot, right? Wasn't that your testimony?
Yes, we spoke in the parking lot.
Okay, so you did talk about the extortion.
That's
Just didn't do it in a way that it was captured on any of the recordings in this case.
well, we spoke when we had privacy.
Well, you had privacy on the phone, right?
When?
At least you thought you had privacy on the phone. Every time when you were talking on the phone for hundreds of hours on this wire.
There's always a chance that I was being listened to.
Oh.
Okay. Well, there was a chance you were being listened to when you whispered in Dad's ear, right? But you said it. And you were talking
Well,
about
I
it.
whispered real quietly into his ear, so I thought I had privacy. At that point, I thought I had privacy.
So he whispered real quietly, but just a half a minute ago, he said, go get the recording. You'll hear what I said.
Right.
Okay. Sure, Charlie. Whoops.
And Catherine McBanowa and you discussed this first layer of extortion in the car outside of Dolce Vita too, right?
That's when I found out everything that was going on, and she opened up when I
But
confronted
if
her.
this jury could hear that conversation recorded, we would all be hearing basically what you're telling us, that there was an extortion effort that predated the undercover operation. Wouldn't
Right.
we?
Because I was trying to see if Sigfredo was behind the extortion of my mom, because I knew he was behind. Always had a feeling he was behind what happened to me, and she was having this explosive fight with him, and it was going on the same exact time that my mom started getting extorted. So I thought that he was going after my mom.
Don't
Also, I just want to say again, I know I'm supposed to be talking about George's cross, but I'm like stuck on him now because this is like the third time I've seen it. Now I'm thinking about what he's saying. So he's calling the bump from the FBI an extortion. I mean, it's another faux extortion, right? So it's just such a fairy tale. It's so crazy. But okay, I wanted to highlight this comment here because I really fear the only fear I have is that I personally thought he would say someone was extorting him. Okay, I didn't think this was going to happen. I didn't dream this up. I'm just saying it's not a far reach that Katie was extorting him because he hired her to get this murder done. He was going to be on the hook to Katie for her life as long as she was alive. She could always threaten to spill the beans, right? So I think it was an easy thing for her to think of, and it would be an easy thing if somebody's really anti-government, anti-law enforcement to go along with this charade. I'm just saying that would be the one or two jurors that might feel that way, because I personally thought she could extort him, and she would probably, and he would probably end up having to do away with her. And this other comment about the Latin kings, it's very smart, because the gangs don't do that. They don't just go look for people to extort, create a crime. I mean, and I think that's why Luis has been so indignant about this. It's like, that's not how it works. I mean, that's just not how it works. It's crazy to say that they don't extort. Well, no, that's maybe a reach, but yeah, it is totally unbelievable. And furthermore, I think this is why he and Wendy were so fearful, because they were like, oh, we have all this money. Now they know who we are and where we live. We're going to get hit next. Even Luis said, let's not kill this guy. Let's just go rob the lady. In his proffer, he admitted to saying that. I wouldn't be surprised if he voiced that to Sigfredo, and Katie knew that, and Charlie knew that, and Wendy knew that Luis said, let's just go rob the lady. That's why she got out of town and was so afraid. She was afraid she was next, but only for her money, if that makes any sense at all. Does that make sense?
I don't know. I think that Katie, you're right. She could have extorted him, but she didn't. She didn't. So, for example, the car, they both agree that she paid for it. Why didn't she get it for free? So I think she could have kept it going, but she didn't, because all these little side gifts he was giving her without her asking sometimes, as he said, remember at one time, who remembers your birthday? Who is, so I don't know. I would disagree in the sense that she could have kept it going, but she didn't. And if she would have, that would have already come out, because that would have been used against her in her trials.
Right. But he has been trying to keep her happy. And he's right about that, because he knew she could flip on him, right? For any reason. But let's say 10 or 20 years down the line, she might have been, okay, he's taking care of me now, but he might have gotten tired of it at some point. So it had to be in the back of their mind, like, when is this going to end? Are we going to pay for her forever? And then I'm sure the FBI idea about somebody else wanting money from them too to be taken care of was really frightening, because it's like, okay, are we going to pay for this forever? How much is this really going to cost us? It's not one and done, you know. I don't know, but I understand what you're saying too. I just don't think it's that far of a reach to think that Katie would at some point have asked for too much. Let's put it that way. Or maybe Sigfredo even. And Luis did imply that Sigfredo got more after the initial payment. He was still buying things. His rent was paid. So, all right.
That conversation in the car had been recorded.
I don't know.
Wouldn't it prove your theory
Yeah.
that you're talking about, the
If I
prior
think about it.
extortion?
Then you know
Judy's
exactly what
on.
happened
Hi,
back then.
Judy.
But unfortunately, it wasn't recorded. And then everything that was recorded inside the restaurant, you don't mention it, right?
I'm speaking very carefully. I mean, I was still, even when I was in the car with Katie, she was doing most of the talking. That was the first time she really opened up, and I think I caught her off guard. I was still, even when I spoke to her in the car, I was real careful. I said, was T behind what happened to me? Like, I wouldn't even say the words to her when I was in the car.
Okay, was T behind what happened to me? Do you say anything anywhere on the wire about referencing what happened to me? Meaning what happened to me before?
So he knew which one is Tudo and which one is Ty. He knew Tudo or whatever by the name, by the T. So he already knew he had that nickname. Is that right? Is that what he's saying here? Okay.
Right.
No, because that was the only time I ever confronted her. But I did actually when I would be on the wire with my mom and I would say, it's not the same person. Like, that was in reference to what happened to me. And she
What
knew
call
that.
do you say it's not the same person?
Okay, you want to know what call? It was Tuesday, the 26th. And I said, it's at the end of the call. It was a 2-minute and something call.
April 26th?
April 26, 2016. It was a 2-minute and something call. It was towards the very end. And I go, I know it's not done like this. It's 48 hours, just enough time. It's not the same person. So you can look it up.
Okay, I'm with you.
So you can look it up. Every time he does that, I get so annoyed. Always telling her what to do. Oh my goodness.
It's not the same person you were referencing as the person that blackmailed me years ago and has been blackmailing me for years.
Yeah.
That's what you meant.
It's not the same person that's extorting me, correct?
All right. So I want to go back to Wendy. Wendy is in the process of relocating from Tallahassee to South Florida, basically the day that this is going on, day after the money drop, right?
They're packing up the car. They're coming back.
All right. So she's going to be moving significantly closer to the killers that had threatened her life.
This what I don't she wasn't planning it wasn't a permanent move or anything that was planned. I think she took a suitcase with her.
But she's your family member, yes. She's much closer to the one they've already killed than you, right?
Say it again.
She's much closer. She's got much deeper connections to the person they've already killed. That's Dan Markel than you do.
Right.
I mean, there's a reason to fear for her safety because these killers have come, they've just killed Dan, and now they're saying they're going to kill another one. It could be Wendy, right?
She has no idea what's going on.
Exactly. But you let her move from Tallahassee to Miami where you knew the killers were located. That's my point. Do you agree with that?
The killers were able to find Dan Markel in Tallahassee. They have a car.
They were. But would you rather live in Tallahassee or in Miami if the killers are in Miami?
I think if these people want to find you, they'll find you. I mean, I don't think, looking at Luis Rivera, I don't think a distance would stop him.
Okay. Where did Wendy and the...
So that was more for Wendy. Like that wasn't, I think that was more planted for, like you say, dropping breadcrumbs for Wendy's future.
The boys
trials.
live when she first moved to South Florida?
When she first moved to South Florida, she moved in with my parents into a small apartment. They actually had to get another apartment because that one was too small.
With your parents?
She moved in with them, yeah.
And I want to talk about the cameras. You bought cameras for the Adelson Institute and your home at Whale Harbor, right?
Yes.
The camera system, yeah. All right. And what about Wendy's? I guess she didn't have a place. So like wherever she was staying with your parents, were cameras installed there as well at that same time frame that you installed these cameras?
No, I never told her what happened, but they lived in a very secure building.
Isn't it true, doctor, that you'd been planning to install those cameras for some time before the murder?
I
It's interesting that this is one of the things that she is bringing out. It's really interesting to notice what she's asking about. I did that last time because the last trial, because it's going to give us a picture, and I'm going to do some good note. I'm going to do like a slideshow or something so I can share my notes with you guys on what she asked, just without all the answers and all that, but just what did she ask? And if you put it all together, like as a story, what does it say? And how much of it was about Wendy? How much of it was about him? And Lady Law, I was just wondering what you meant. Your son believes Charlie was being guided by someone in the gallery. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, that's why she was asking who's the blonde.
Oh, okay. Huh.
I don't think so.
Yeah, I think he just had it memorized. I'm sure that practiced it many times. Roof, roof. Judy D, he loves pointing at Luis Rivera. That's very interesting. I noticed that too. Why do you think that would be? Why would it matter? Why would it matter? And the way Luis stared at Charlie, I mean, was that something he added?
I think it's just for the separation.
Yeah, I guess. I think it props up his story more, I guess. I suppose, because yeah, it's the whole Latin King thing and the whole media thing. It's like the media, the Latin King. It's just these concepts that it reminds me of what politicians do, right? They get on these certain hot concepts and phrases that get people, that trigger people, right? That trigger fear in people.
But what he's forgetting, Dawn, though, is that Luis, when he decided to testify against the Latin Kings, he was out.
Right.
You know, so he's forgetting that he hasn't been a part of that quote unquote family since he decided to testify against him. That's why he's adamant and he wants to stay in Arizona.
Right. And the more he brings it up, it's the more detrimental to Luis, and that bothers me a lot. That's just really annoying. But I don't think Charlie forgets it. I don't think he forgets it. I think he's doing it and he doesn't care. He's doing it for his own. He's trying to shape this for his own purposes. So.
Actually, I already had cameras at my house that I had installed in 2008. The technology from 2008 to 2014 had changed a lot when it came to cameras.
Yeah, I think you mentioned that. I'm sorry to interrupt you, but I think you mentioned all that on direct. I'm referring to this particular update that was done post homicide. You were in communication with this camera guy, and I think your lawyer mentioned this. You had 84 text messages with him dating back to January 20th of 2014 in regards to the update that occurred post-murder. Do you agree with that?
I know there was always talk that we were going to get cameras in the office, and we just never got around to it. When this happened, that week, within probably 3 days, I called the camera guy up and I said, I want to get cameras in my house and my new cameras for my house, and I want to get cameras in my office. How soon can you come out and do it? And then he came out, I'd say 4 or 5 days after that, bought the equipment and installed it that week.
Did you hire a private investigator to help you with this whole problem you were having?
With the extortion?
Yes.
No, I didn't tell anybody.
Did you get a bodyguard?
No, I carried a gun on me, and I always sleep with a gun next to me in bed, and I carried a gun on my person. And
Again, a super great question. This is really important. If you were being extorted and you were going along with it, right?
Mm-hmm.
Your next fear would be, okay, now they've got my money. They're just going to get rid of me now or want more. It's not going to end well, right? You're going to just stay in the same home and play with your go-karts. And, oh, I'm going to make a clip. Did you guys catch the part where they, when Dan Rashbaum was doing his questioning of Charlie and he had an exhibit and they were playing the phone call between Charlie and Donna, and Rashbaum had to kind of like run back to cut it off right before he started talking about go-karts.
Yes.
It was so funny. And the look on Charlie's face, if they would have heard the whole go-kart thing, my God, they'd be like, Dr. Go-Kart? Like, what is this? And I know these people have to be thinking about their own dentists right now. Like if they're on that jury, and can you imagine all of his patients watching this trial thinking, oh, he did surgery on my mouth? Oh.
Yeah, especially the patient that he left on the table when he had to go and take Erica's call.
Okay. And I've got so many comments. I'm a little behind on the comments, so let's keep going.
I had a gun in my car at all times.
Great question, though.
A statement you made on the Dolce Vita recording that said you were going to start carrying a gun.
Yeah, because for a long time, after this happened, I was carrying a gun, and it's uncomfortable, and I don't always like carrying a gun. So I hadn't carried a gun in a while, and I was going to start carrying one again. But
you did say in 2016, I'm going to start carrying one.
Yeah, I carried probably for about 4 to 6 months after this happened, and I wear scrubs, so the gun that I had can kind of stick out, and it's uncomfortable. I prefer not to carry a gun.
So you quit carrying.
Everybody wants their dentist to carry a gun in their scrubs. I mean, just picture that. Just picture this whole thing. It's really great that Georgia is asking this, and he's talking a little more than he should right now.
But during the time you were still paying the extortion money.
Yes.
All right. And the extortion money that you were paying, $3,000 a month, that wasn't going towards the principal of whatever was left on the $333,000, right? Didn't you testify to that?
Correct.
All right. So you never came up with the remaining bulk of the money that you owed?
Never.
And nobody ever came after you for that?
No, they said you could pay it all off and it'll be done, or just pay $3,000 a month. So I thought about paying the full amount.
All right. Then a couple weeks later, after the initial extortion, you and Catherine Magbanua broke up, according to your direct. Do I have that right?
That's not correct.
Oh, when did you break up?
Within a week. I met her. We went out to dinner. We went out to eat, and I just said, "This has got to end."
All right. So you broke up with her.
Yes.
Weren't you scared that if you broke up with her, that she would sick the Latin Kings on you?
No, because I had every intention of paying every month. When I broke up with her and I said, listen, I don't want to surround myself with this. I'm scared. She said that she was going to come every month and pick up the.
Does he look scared? Like, does he look like somebody who was afraid? There's been absolutely zero fluctuation in his tone throughout this. He's now describing being in fear for his life, the same way he was describing, what he does for a living.
Money and protect me.
Crazy.
And she understood. I mean, our relationship was on the rocks.
But you testified that all the gifts and stuff that you gave her were to keep her happy, right?
Yeah, when I realized that she's the one who's protecting me and she wasn't a part of this extortion, I had no problem keeping her happy, and I looked for nice things to do for her because she was broke.
But not worried about pissing her off by breaking up with her.
Well, our relationship was definitely on the rocks. After July 1st, when Sigfredo cut me off and threatened me and called my dad, and then she knew I didn't even invite her to my dad's birthday party, which was a family gathering with family friends on July 5th. She knew we were going to be done.
Katie said he did invite her in her proffer. I don't know if anyone has seen her or how many people have caught that part of it, but she said he did ask her to come up because that was the day of the picture with Wendy at the beach. But he's saying I didn't invite her in. Katie did say that. So now Georgia doesn't challenge him on it, but Georgia knows.
After you broke up with Catherine Magbanua a week after the murder, did you continue to talk to her?
We still communicated for sure.
Talk on the phone?
And texted, yeah.
And meet up?
No, the only time I would see her was I saw her again the end of August. She came and picked up the money. And that's when she asked me if I could put her on the books because none of this money was going to her and she needed to get health insurance for her kids. So I said, yeah, I'll do it and help you out.
And did you continue to hook up with her after the breakup? And by that, I mean, have sex with her.
There was one occasion. There was one time that we hooked up.
Okay, when was that?
I want to say it was probably about 5 months after we'd broken up.
Okay, well, there was one other occasion before that in October of 2014. Do you recall that? October 9th of 2014?
That's probably the occasion I'm talking about. Because July, when I count the months, July, August, September, October. So, okay, so 4 months.
Okay, and then there's another one on October 15th. You remember that one?
No, I think we did hook up about one time.
Okay, well, one time on October 9th and one time on October 15th.
I thought it was one time. If it was 2 times, it's been.
Could it have been 2 times?
But no more.
Okay. And on August 25th, 14, that would have been after the breakup, right?
Yeah.
You text her, and then she replies, I don't need help. I'm good. Don't need favors, nor will I trust anyone again. Erase my number, please. Go on with your life like you did already and have been doing. Sorry we spoke today. I don't want to stress your life more. Don't do anything for me. Do you remember receiving that text from Catherine Magbanua?
Yeah, sounds familiar.
And that's a pretty weird text to get from the extortionist. If you're meeting her to give her money, why is she saying erase my number?
She's not the.
I mean, come on, you guys. That was brilliant. That was a brilliant delivery. It was calm. And it was, I think she just doesn't want the jury to, first of all, by getting heated up or getting more sarcastic with him or more, back and forth, as she could have, and she would have won. We know that. She isn't dignifying this story either, right? So by getting too inflamed by any one thing and staying calm and cool, she's just signaling to the jury, yeah, this makes a lot of sense, doesn't it? But in a very dignified way, don't you think? I think it was really well done.
I agree. And what's one thing I keep coming back to that we haven't heard a lot of? So he was, because his son is 5 now, maybe turning 6. So that takes us back to 17, 16 or whatever it is.
Mm-hmm.
He's never brought up the fact that his son needed to remain safe. And so therefore he was also afraid, for his son. It's always, I was afraid for me. I was afraid for my parents. I was afraid for Wendy. Well, you're a father now. So where does that play in?
Wow, that's an excellent point. Yeah, he didn't. But he brings up his son a couple times when it's convenient for him. But yeah, you would think he would have been more like Wendy. I was so afraid for my children. Yeah, none of that when he was actually being extorted. Crazy. Good point. Okay.
The extortionist.
On
In
9/11.
In 2014, I didn't think she was the extortionist.
Right, but it's been revealed that she was.
In 2019. So you're taking what was known in 2019 and you're trying to say I knew what I knew in
right there.
I love when she's just like holding her head there, like this is what they're probably doing. Like, this doesn't make any sense. That's really powerful.
She did that a couple of times with June.
Oh, well, with June, I mean, it was just probably not planned. But I mean, how would you not do that with June?
Right.
I don't know if any of you watching here have been seeing my shorts, but they're pretty funny. I've got shorts about June's testimony, and I can't remember what else, but I've been when I had laryngitis last week, which was fine because there were plenty of other live streams to go to. I didn't have to do one, but I had felt like I had to make some videos. So please check them out and let me know what you think. My work. Okay, so I'm about ready to find a good example of what I was thinking.
I'm not trying to say you knew. I'm trying to say she knew. She knew she was the extortionist. Why is she telling you to erase her number and leave her alone?
Because I broke up with her.
Exactly.
So I think it would be really valid for her to just set this up at this point, or even earlier, that a prosecutor, that law enforcement aren't concerned with your perception of what was going on. If somebody was extorting you and going to be charged with extortion, they want to know from the criminal's perspective. And so she's trying to bring up, she didn't really clear that up, in my opinion. It was just like, he's talking about what he was thinking in his mind. And she's, and that's where some of the confusion was. And of course, she's just allowing him to display the ludicrousy of the whole thing. But I think she might have done a little bit something to, and she can with closing, but just to point out that, hey, we're law enforcement. I work for the district attorney. We're talking about what the extortioner's viewpoint is. This is why it doesn't make any sense. This is why if you came to us with this story, which you didn't 2 years ago when we arrested you or whatever, at any point, we would have looked into it and found nothing. And by the way, he was being surveilled and they didn't see any evidence of, if he was being extorted, they would have picked up on that too. So
right.
I feel like she could have done a little better at pointing that part out, like just more concisely. Yeah.
On 9/14 or 9/11 of 14, she sends you #bestie for life. Do you remember that?
It sounds familiar.
So did you all have some kind of reconciliation after the breakup?
No, I was probably doing a favor and making her happy with something.
On 10/6 of 2014, I love you. It makes me feel good that you care about me. I'm lucky to have you as part of my life. Do you remember sending that to her?
Yeah.
On 10/9 of 14, I mentioned the sex talk. I won't go into the details of it. Again, 10/15, more sex talk. 10/23 of 14, thank you again for everything you're doing for my mommy. She sends you that. What were you doing for her mother?
I don't know. I think I did a consult for her, but I didn't do anything for her mom.
2/24 of 15.
I mean, I don't know. That's kind of weird. He had an answer for absolutely everything else.
You agree that she always knows how to make you smile, and you say, I love you to her. Remember that?
Yeah, I cared a lot about Katie, and I didn't think that she was a part of this. So I was always trying to keep her happy and make her happy. And I felt like she got caught up, dragged into something that she shouldn't have been dragged into.
Okay, maybe. But
yeah.
On 10/9 of 14, I mentioned the sex talk. I won't go into the details of it. Again, 10/15, more sex talk. 10/23 of 14, thank you again for everything you're doing for my mommy. She sends you that. What were you doing for her mother?
I don't know. I think I did a consult for her, but I didn't do anything for her mom.
2/24 of 15, you agree that she always knows how to make you smile, and you say, I love you to her. Remember that?
Yeah, I cared a lot about Katie, and I didn't think that she was a part of this. So I was always trying to keep her happy and make her happy. And I felt like she got caught up, dragged into something that she shouldn't have been dragged into.
Okay, maybe, but she dragged you into it as well.
I didn't see it like that at all. And our relationship actually got stronger. You know, initially,
I mean, come on. She's taking this money from you. He's acting like such a charitable human being, right? I really cared about her. And even if she wasn't, even if he didn't think she was the one extorting him, faux extorting him, she was the one in between, right? Asking, she's the one who took the money.
He never
physically.
cared about her. He cared about getting in her pants. And when he realized that she has baggage, he wanted nothing more than to keep her around. So he would, you know, keep her happy by reaching out to her. And he realized, hey, well, maybe she can do something more for me.
I mean, he did. I believe Katie said in her proffer that he asked her within 2 weeks of when they started dating if she knew someone who could hurt someone. 2 weeks. 2 weeks. And a lot of people think she was targeted. Very, very possible that he just used her for this whole thing. It's just amazing how he flipped on
when I got extorted,
this whole story around.
I had limited contact with her and I was cold to her. And then over time, I realized that she's the one who's protecting me and she's not involved with these people because the extortion never went up and Katie was always broke.
She
So
was involved with them because she had a child with the guy, right?
I didn't know for sure it was him,
But you suspected always that it was him.
I always suspected that Sigfredo was behind this.
So
yeah.
wouldn't you want to distance yourself from this woman who, I mean, were you ever really that serious about her to begin with?
I mean, we spent 7-8 months together.
But you were never considering marrying her.
No, I wasn't considering
I mean,
that.
you were a playboy, right? You had a zillion girlfriends.
That is actually not even true.
Okay. Did you have a lot of girlfriends?
I had 2 girlfriends in the 2 or 3 years after her. I dated Whitney Kick for 9 months.
Okay, but how many women were you talking to and engaging with sexually? A lot more than Whitney Kick, right?
There could have been 1 or 2.
Or more?
No.
Okay.
I loved how Georgia was like any female on the jury is going to relate to that.
Point being, you were not going to marry Catherine Magbanua.
I wasn't having marriage plans, no.
Okay. And you have now
Again, the
broken up with
reframing.
her after this incident.
Yes.
She's the person that's taking the money from you physically.
She's the one. I looked at it as she's the one who's protecting me. If she wasn't, I was going to get a visit
Is
from
she
somebody.
the one that was physically taking the money?
Yes.
Is she the one that was connected to the person you suspected to have killed your brother-in-law?
I thought she was tied to that person, yes.
And she's the one that got you into this, right? Because she ran her mouth, right?
And I looked at that I ran my mouth too. And if I never said anything to her, this would never have happened. So I felt responsible for saying something to her in the first place.
But you didn't feel responsible enough to try to do anything about her sitting in jail, an innocent woman, for 3 years. Did you?
She never contacted me.
You didn't offer to testify in her trial. You let her get convicted and get life in prison, didn't you?
I thought the truth was going to come out.
But not through you.
I was never contacted. I thought it was going to come out through her.
Was there any contact between you?
Why would he think it was going to come out? That doesn't make any sense. But this is really good right here. And this is where I think most people would, at this point, and of course, this is only 34 minutes in, or 35 minutes, but at this point, I think she's already done an extraordinary job in the cross.
Your lawyers and her
Personally,
lawyers?
You'd have to ask them.
You said you didn't have any contact with
You
her.
have to ask
Did you
them.
have
I
any
had zero
contact?
contact with her.
So your lawyers didn't tell you anything on behalf of her lawyers?
Absolutely not.
And her lawyers didn't hear anything from your lawyers?
I don't know what lawyers talk about, but I can tell you that I never talked to Katie and I never told my lawyers.
You never relayed a message through your lawyers that the Adelson family would not be talking in this case?
Absolutely not.
and she had nothing to worry about as far as that end was concerned.
That's not true at all.
Did you or your agent contact her brother to offer to assist with her attorney's fees in her case?
That's a complete lie.
On 10/27 of 15, you say you can't wait to get lunch with her. She's the best, and you're lucky to have her as a friend for life. Did you say that?
Yes.
10/27/15, you can't wait to get lunch with her. 10/30/15, you tell her you miss her. 12/9 of 15, again, you tell her she's the best.
Yeah, I said all those things.
Do you agree that this picture does not look like a relationship between an extortionist and her victim?
I agree, because Katie wasn't the extortionist.
She was the extortionist.
In 2014 and
No.
2015, I didn't believe that.
I know you didn't believe it, but we're looking back now, okay?
You know, it's like, if you're going to quote me, date me. Like, at what I knew in 2014 and what I knew in 2015 is not what I know now in 2023.
Okay,
What does that even mean? If you're going to quote me, date me?
It means he needs a refresher so he can remember what his lie is.
But it just came off so weird. It just came off so weird. And here again is where I think Georgia could be pointing this out. This is why I think she got a little lost in his on his yellow brick road, shall we say, sucked up by the yellow bricks, because she could have then taken a stand and said, I'm a prosecutor. I want you to tell me right now what I would do with that information now or then at that time, whatever the question is, to frame it from a law enforcement standpoint instead of this whole let's get into Charlie's mind thing. And I think that's why this whole thing was so maybe came off. It could have done a little bit better. And I think a lot of people maybe are feeling that. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Ugh. He's just, and he's coming off. I mean, he sounds like he had voice coaching to me. This is not his voice. And I know some people said it's the medication, but he's doing he's trying to sound dignified, and he has practiced this quite a bit. This is not the way he speaks.
Well, he doesn't want to, he's trying to come across as I know more than you, but he doesn't want to take it to a level where he's yelling at her, because he's obviously very cognizant of the fact that there's more women than men on the jury. And so he doesn't want to piss them off, but little does he know that this is coming across even worse.
Yes, it is. It's coming across so awfully, so greasy and arrogant.
I hear you. You didn't know then, and that's why you were nice to her.
Yeah, I thought she was protecting me.
Got it. And none of those factors that I pointed out weighed into that consideration, that she ran her mouth, that she brought the Latin Kings on you, she was taking the money from you. None of that counterbalanced it. You were still going to be friends with her and keep her happy.
You're wrong. I didn't know about the Latin Kings in 2014 or 2015.
All right. The love text, which is what I'm referring to all these texts where you're still nice to this person after you break up with her. You're still doing favors for this person after you break up with her. I mean, that's like a major problem for your defense, isn't it?
No, our relationship got stronger. I agree. Our relationship got stronger, but it was much different.
Isn't that why she has to be an innocent conduit between you and the bad guys? Because if those texts didn't exist, she would be the extortionist and the bad actor in this whole thing, right?
I'm not following your theory.
You have to explain away those texts, don't you, doctor?
No, I have to sit here and tell you the truth. And now you're finding it out.
Pregnant pause.
Most people don't send kissy faces to people that are extorting money out of them. I mean, she was taking your money.
Again, Ms. Cappleman, she was not extorting me at the time.
Okay, that's the first time, and it's not the last time, where he leans into the mic. Did you see that? That's very aggressive. Wendy does that too. Now he's really, you can tell she's getting to him.
That's not how it's done, is it?
I'm telling you how it was done.
So then over these next 2 years, you would meet her monthly and hand over a bundle of checks and $3,000 in cash, right?
No, you're wrong.
Okay, tell me.
I would hand
Tell me
over
I'm wrong.
$2,000 in cash and a bundle of checks.
$2,000 in cash and a bundle of checks. And so over the course of 2 years, I'm terrible at math, but that's roughly how much money? Because I think I did $3,000. It's $48,000 in cash, in addition to the 138 you provided the night of. Do you agree with that?
If your math is correct, I'm just telling you what I paid her each month.
And the checks, which is another $17,000, right?
You're doing the math.
It was a lot of money. Was it a lot of money to you?
It was a lot of money to me, yeah. I work hard.
Did the extortionists, whoever they were, ever try to increase the payments or come for more money?
The extortion never went up, and Katie was always broke. And that's what led me to think that she was not a part of this, because she could have easily jacked up the payments.
Well, she's sharing $3,000 a month with a bunch of other people, right? At least one other person.
I didn't think she was sharing it. Why is she coming to me for $300 for her kid's birthday?
Because she's broke.
Because she wasn't getting any of the
Because
money.
half of $3,000 doesn't do much when you're living in Miami with 2 kids to feed, right?
I didn't
I'm
think
not
she was
working.
sharing anything.
Well, even if she was sharing it, that's your point. She must not have been taking the money because she was broke. And my point is, she could have been taking half the money and been broke.
That's not how
It's
I
not a
saw
lot
it.
of money.
That's not how I saw it.
Right. And this is really funny because, again, I think his cheapness is showing, right? Oh, they extorted me for $333,000. And this, of course, he's trying to orchestrate this story. And it would have been $1 million, but it would have never ended. Extortionists don't just, as far as I'm concerned, they don't just ask for money once. They will come back again and again. And he didn't think that was going to happen. That never even came up in his story. And of course, that wasn't whatever it was, $3,000 a month. It's just so funny. I can't even say it with a straight face, but yeah, that doesn't get a young mother with 2 children very far, especially if she's not working anywhere else.
Tell me about Dan Markel a little bit. What you sort of said, what I heard, correct me if I'm wrong, was he was, a nice enough guy, typical Wendy boyfriend, but not really your kind of guy.
Yeah, I think it's an accurate description.
Right. Do you agree that he was this brilliant legal mind?
I think he was a
Hey, JPJ.
nerdy, nice guy. Just kind of like the average guy that my sister dated.
Not the kind of guy you want to have a beer with, though.
We never had a beer together. I mean, not that I wouldn't have had a beer if he wanted to have one. We just didn't have that much in common, but he was always nice to me.
Do you appreciate the fact that his death was a terrible loss to his sons?
It was horrible.
Do you think they were better off without him?
Absolutely
You see his little shoulder shrug? It was horrible. Shoulder shrug.
not.
Did you host a celebration dinner after his murder?
That's a complete lie.
On the wire,
It is interesting he didn't fall into the trap of saying, I thought he was a really nice guy. I would have had a beer, right? He was at least consistent that he didn't like the guy. At least consistent. And so that was good for Georgia to try to see what he would say. And certainly the jurors are going to notice that he didn't really like him, and he admitted it.
do you agree that the Markel boys were in the background pretty much of every call you had with your mom, and you hear them a lot, right?
My sister was working, so my parents would help my sister out. Yeah.
Yeah, and it was summertime, so they were out of school, I would assume.
I don't know if it was every call, but they definitely helped my sister out for sure.
All right, and those calls captured Donna pushing them on the swings, that call that tortured all of us a couple times. Remember that one?
Yeah, there was a call where she was pushing them on the swing.
Taking them to tennis lessons.
That
Yes.
was the same day. I mean, that was the same call that got broken up, and she called me back. But yes,
Doing their
He remembers that. I mean, I was just, kind of surprised he would remember that the tennis lessons were the same day that the swings were. I mean, it just shows how much he went over this
Bedtime
information.
routine,
Helping my sister out for sure.
reading stories, brushing teeth, getting haircuts, going to piano, story time and bedtime, all of that kind of stuff.
All stuff that parents and grandparents do. You're right.
All right. She even said to you on one of the calls regarding the bedtime routine that, quote, we have a whole routine going. Do you remember that?
Thank you. I have a whole routine with my son. I mean, I think it's normal with kids. You have a routine to put them to bed.
Right.
All
All
the
the
brush
kind
your
of
teeth.
things,
Can't forget to brush your teeth.
all the, yeah. Little dental humor couldn't hurt, right?
What's that?
All the things that, you know, your mom wouldn't have been able to do as readily if the kids were living in Tallahassee. Agree with that?
So again, Georgia has this relationship with the jury. She's not risking it. She's not taking any pot shots. Or low blows or whatever you call them. And even, you know, a little dental humor wouldn't hurt. I mean, she's being very, very human, right? He's not looking superhuman, like, at all.
I mean, when they come up to visit them, they'd be doing the same thing.
Sure, when they came up to visit, but now they're doing it every day, right? Almost every day.
Not every day, but when my sister needed them, she helped them out.
And these are all things, these little routine things that Dan Markel will never be able to do with his sons. Do you agree with that?
Absolutely.
Does your mom have a favorite child?
Oh, here we go.
She says she doesn't have favorites, but I don't think she likes my older brother.
Wow.
Is Wendy?
He did not have to say that. He did not have to say that.
Wow.
What do you think? What was the point of him saying that?
It's a Wendy move. It's a Wendy move. It's almost like they've been coached by the same, you know,
Right.
trial consultant.
But to what end on that statement? Look at his face. Look at his face. He's quite proud of himself. He's quite happy. Just like when he blurts out the F word later. He just, you know, first he laughed about it and then he said it quite aggressively, you know. But what would he gain by saying his mother doesn't like her older brother?
Nothing. He adds just irrelevant information, kind of like about Bree, what I said earlier, when she started working for Dave after she graduated college. Nobody's asking about her educational background.
Right. Well, I think on that one, you can kind of tell why he would do that, right?
Well, of course.
Yeah. But this, I don't see there's what's the point?
But if anything, if I were him, I would leave it at, yes, she was a nanny, because that's more relatable to a jury than, well, she graduated college and this was just a job for her to do, because that's not what she's going to do, you know? So, I
mean, even that's like, yeah, the whole thing, it opened my mind up, like got me distracted. Like, why would she be a nanny if she graduated college? I mean, I don't know. Maybe I shouldn't have said that, but yeah, the smirking and the smile. I'll do body language another time. This whole thing is just, you guys, I can't even keep up with the chat. I'm trying to get as many comments up as I can. It's going too fast.
I'd like to think it's a tie. It's between me and her.
Does your mom worry more about Wendy than you?
He's so smug.
Yeah.
Let's
I don't really get.
Before this case.
No, I don't. I mean, I think maybe in different parts of my life, she's probably more concerned about me. Different parts of my sister's life, she may be more concerned about her.
Is it true that your mom has a tendency to worry herself sick if there's something going on with one of you kids?
No, I mean, she's a concerned mom, but I think she's a normal mom.
If I were her at that point, I would have said, she tends to worry herself sick if it has to do with you and Wendy, because as you clearly just pointed out, your older brother, she doesn't worry about.
Right. She could have brought that back up. It's interesting. She's a mom. What's his reference point? I don't know. Did Katie worry about her kids a lot? Is that why she was hiring murderers for you? I mean, yeah. Oh, yeah. Okay. Oh, good point. Hey, Mona says, evidently Donna wasn't worried about him the last year and a half in jail, right? She is not even sitting there in the courtroom.
Is she pretty worried about Wendy's marital problems?
No,
She wasn't.
I think she'd get upset when my sister would tell her things that Danny was doing and going to work, bad mouthing her. But I think any parent would get upset.
But also she would meticulously go through all the filings and send long emails detailing her thoughts about every filing in this divorce.
No, I don't think that's the case at all.
Okay. Did she hate Dan Markel?
I think she liked him in the beginning, for sure. And I think when he was being a jerk to my sister, I don't think anyone particularly liked him when he was being a jerk.
What about the time around the time that he was killed? Did your mother hate Dan Markel?
No, I think it kind of.
Here we go with the other comment.
And again, no qualms about saying he was a jerk. And we're talking about his murder in this trial right now. Like, these people have not any manners.
And this is when it gets worse, Dawn. This is when it gets worse.
Right. And so let's see how Georgia handles this.
She only disliked him when he was being mean to my sister. Other than that, nobody had a problem.
He was being mean to your sister during these divorce proceedings and subsequent litigation, right?
I think it was on and off. I think it was sporadic.
And when your mom's worried about Wendy, does she come to you for solutions or to talk things out?
No, I don't think worried is the right word to describe it.
Does she ever make Wendy's problems your problems?
No.
Like convincing you to get Wendy to pull the plug on the house on Halloween 2013? Didn't she convince you to sort of take up that cause?
No, that was actually me. I thought I shared my thoughts on home ownership for my sister. That was all me.
Didn't you say that if she had bought that house, that would have been the second worst decision of Wendy's life?
I thought it was going to be a stupid decision to buy that house.
And what was the first worst decision of Wendy's life?
I thought looking at hindsight 2020, I think when she'd agreed when she married Dan.
And did you convince her to take a particular job as well? Remember that call?
Yeah, she got an offer from a law firm and she was debating whether or not she should take it. She didn't know if it was exactly what she wanted to do. And I was like, hey, you don't know what you don't like doing until you've done it. Seems like a great opportunity. Like, why not do it? Learn the job skill. It's a skill you don't. And she's like, well, I don't have that skill. And I'm like, well, it's a good opportunity to learn it and you may like it. And if you don't like it, then try something else. But I was trying to encourage her to take what sounded like a great opportunity.
And Mom shared your thoughts, and I'm referring to Donna Adelson, shared your thoughts about this opportunity being a good one for Wendy, right?
I probably heard about the job from my mom, but I definitely heard about it from my sister because I'm talking to my sister about it.
Yeah, I mean, the job was not what she had any experience in, right? It was a whole nother field of law.
Then that was my point. It was like, well, why not take it if they're offering it to you and you can learn something new? Sounds like a great opportunity.
Even if he's connected to the crime, to the car?
I know that Sigfredo wasn't the one who killed Dan.
Okay.
We just jumped. Did we just jump?
Wouldn't it be good for you? Because you know now that Sigfredo is the extortionist, right? She just told you that in the car?
Sigfredo, yeah.
Okay. And wouldn't it be good for you if the police investigation into the Prius led to the arrest of the killers / extortionists?
If they arrested the people that killed Dan,
Yeah.
I know the extortion would stop. As long as I kept my mouth shut, I'd be safe.
Right. So why are you trying to argue to her that like the car is not going to lead anywhere? They're not going to be able to do anything with the car.
That's not what I'm saying. I'm just saying that I know that Sigfredo wasn't the one who killed him.
Did you say on this recording, if they're a bad guy, there's two ways of dealing with it. Go ahead and contact the police. They'll contact him, the blackmailer, and arrange a setup. Take him down and he'll proffer 10 years and now tell us everything you know or else you're going to serve 10 years in prison. Next thing you know, this person is singing. He's calling out your name. My parents are going to have to tell the story of what happened. Singing about what? About the extortion?
No, I think you're reading it wrong. I know the audible is bad.
What would
Are those the words?
Yes, sir. What would the the extortionist, and now I'm referring to the one that contacted your mother.
The Latin King extortion.
The Latin
Both
King,
Latin Kings, right?
The second.
It has a name.
the second extortion. I mean, this part kills me. The Latin King extortioner, the second I mean, yeah. Yeah, God.
What would they have to sing about?
But maybe Georgia didn't make it concise because the more confusing it is, the better for the jury to just be like that.
The second extortion would be singing and talking about the first extortion, where they learned their information from.
Who cares? That doesn't have anything to do with you.
Well, when they catch the first extortion, Katie's tied to them and I'm tied to Katie. They're going to come talk to us, and we're going to be in danger when we tell them what happened. So that's I was saying, if they catch the second, they're going to turn in on the first. That's the same thing I said yesterday.
You gave very precise instructions to Catherine McBanois on what she was to say when she calls the phone number, right?
Yeah,
Did you do that?
Absolutely.
And then you say, quote, "You'd better kill him because he's going to be a big problem. And he knows who you are. If he can't do it, I'll have someone else do it." Aren't you telling her that if Garcia can't handle this problem and kill whoever's behind this, you will have someone else do it?
You're reading it totally wrong.
It's a yes or no question, sir.
No, you're wrong.
When Dan
Wow.
Markel's murder,
I mean, amazing she didn't respond. I mean, she kept her cool through that. You're reading it totally wrong. Well, no. And we're talking about a dentist, a doctor saying somebody should be killed. So it's not that far of a reach that he did this. It's really true that doctors and of course lawyers, because they're servants of the court, are held to a higher standard, right? So I think this is really effective. And I think it's effective that she doesn't take the bait.
murder was taking too long to happen, didn't you tell Catherine McBanois that if she couldn't get it done, you would find someone else to do it?
No, I've never said that either.
And then you say in the recording, I'm back to Dolce now. Yeah, and guess what? When the effing police show up and there's a doctor, there's an oral surgeon standing there with a dead gang member in his effing driveway, they're not going to come down too hard on me. So you knew you'd be believed if you went to the police, right?
I didn't know I'd be believed, but I feared for my life.
And then you say, so help me God, if they fuck with my family, it's going to be fucking Nazi shit, because this will be done. You know what I'm saying? I mean, Katie, I don't care what I spend, okay? I swear to God. What is Nazi shit?
That's an expression that Katie would use to describe someone that's going crazy. I think the Nazis.
It's an expression that Katie would use. I mean, there's no way. He had an answer for everything. It's just, it didn't matter if his answer made sense, but I will say he did handle this well, in the sense of that he was able to stick to his story, his overall, what he was trying to put out there. But I think a lot of people, and I think these two questions right now that Georgia is handling, she might have made them a little sharper as far as that contrast between somebody who's calling for somebody to be killed and somebody who's, using language like this and a thought process like this, who is a doctor. I mean, somehow have brought that out a little bit more. Of course, she can do that in closing, but there is also a danger of holding him to a higher standard than the average Joe.
We're absolutely crazy people. So I'm saying I'm going to get somebody to go crazy on the guy that's trying to extort my mom for money. I'll pay someone to go threaten him and to scare him. I was not talking about killing anybody.
Well, you say the word kill. Yes?
No. Oh, when you're putting the words in my mouth, we can
Wow.
do that in
Sir.
sentence.
Do you say the word kill?
Again, no, sir. I mean, she handled it so respectfully That was so awful. So awful. And by the way, there are tons of wiretaps of Katie. She never used that terminology. That is so low.
Bill?
I'm talking
Mhm.
about if Sigfredo's coming after you, he's such a dangerous guy. You'd have to kill him to stop him. That's the only thing you could do. Not talking about killing the extorter. I'm talking second extortion.
Okay.
I'm saying
The second is look at how he leaned in again. That's very aggressive posturing. Very aggressive. That isn't a good look for, and she's handling it so well. It's quite the contrast between her dignity and his. Yeah, he's starting to get in his own story mixed up here. It's really good.
that if Sigfredo's coming after you, the only thing that you could do is you'd have to kill him to stop him. I'm not talking about killing anybody. I'm talking about that's the only way that you could stop Sigfredo from coming after you.
I'm not talking about killing him. I'm just telling Katie to do it. I mean, that's what it is.
You would have to kill him. And that's exactly what I said there. You're wrong. That's exactly what I said.
All right, thank you. Nazis kill, right? Isn't that like
Hmm.
the primary objective?
No, I think Nazis are insane, crazy people.
Mm.
That exterminate, right?
That kill.
I mean, insane, crazy people don't necessarily mean they're murder. I mean, everybody who's crazy is a murderer. Okay. Everyone who has mental illnesses, you just offended like half the population there.
Well, and they're insane, but they're not insane when his mom wants Wendy to dress up the boys as such.
Right, exactly. And what a great point. And just the whole, they're insane, but I'm not. I'm not. Everyone else is this worldview. He's showing his worldview here. Very, very much out in the open about what he's really got going on behind those black eyes.
Oh, yes, but they're crazy. That was an expression she would use, and that's when I used it to her, but basically saying I'm going to have someone go crazy on this guy. I could have used the word crazy. I thought it was interchangeable.
Isn't what you're doing here in this portion of the tape feeling her out to make sure Garcia doesn't have any bad feelings toward you?
When I said it, yeah, I thought he could have been behind the second extortion. I think I've said that before.
And you go into like how your relationships didn't overlap, you never disrespected him, and you mentioned that you don't think that I assume you mean these other people, associates that have contacted your mom, would want to mess with his connections, right? You remember?
But you're talking about the copycat extortion.
Oh,
Right.
jeez.
And then you ask,
All these extortions have so many names.
You're talking about the copycat.
Right.
Okay, a copycat would have to mean, wait a minute. The copycat would have to mean that they would know of the other extortion to
Right.
copy it. My head hurts.
if he is too far removed,
If anyone from the mafia is
can he still
listening,
make a
Charlie's
call?
giving
Are
you
referring
names
to
for future
Garcia and
extortion.
that?
Yeah, exactly.
So can Garcia make a call to try to figure out who this is?
Okay, Garcia helped stop the second extortion. Someone's doing a piggyback extortion on the first. That's exactly what I said.
On the topic of conversation for Catherine Magbanua, don't you say, I look for things to do, I show you, that's the difference. You don't ask me for shit. You said all those things. Right?
Absolutely, because that's proven what I've been saying all along is that I didn't think she was part of this, so I was doing things to keep her happy from time to time. Ethan's birthday I brought up there. I gave her $300. I helped her out with the car when her car was broken, for sure.
And then you say, listen, you giving somebody money is not an admission of any kind of guilt. Would paying the money have made her look guilty?
That's what she was saying to me. She said it's the police. You can't pay the police. They're going to think you were part of a murder and they're going to arrest you.
But if it was an extortionist, it could have created a monster, right?
And if you don't pay the extortionist, you could get killed.
So when
Or you
these
could keep getting
guys,
extorted.
I'm sorry, go ahead.
I said if you don't pay the extortionist, you could get killed, or you could keep getting extorted.
But your main concern was that if we pay, this guy will think I'm an ATM machine, right? He'll keep coming back again and again and again. Don't you articulate that to Catherine Magbanua?
If it was an extorter, that was one of the concerns. The other concern was not paying him and getting killed.
But what you say is, well, I don't remember the quote exactly. The main concern, what I'm most worried about, is that they're going to keep coming back for more, right?
I don't remember using the word the main concern.
But what you don't say in here is like what you or your homies have been doing to me for 2 years.
Of course not. I don't want her to think I'm setting her up.
He's so considerate.
Why are you explaining extortion and how extortion works to Catherine Magbanua?
Drop the mic on that question. She's the one who extorted. Oh, but I didn't know she was extorting me at that time. I mean, wouldn't Catherine have been just peeing her pants with laughter at that then? I mean, come on. It doesn't, there's no way. No way. This is not happening. It's an alternate universe. And yes, we have found the word, hopefully Georgia will use in her closing, photortion.
We can email her.
Let's. There's a lot of good other options in this chat. This chat is bringing it. Thank you. Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Because I know.
I really had planned on providing more commentary, but I'm just so engrossed in the chat. It's
But she knows too, doesn't she?
So I repeat myself. I do that.
You also explain it to your mother how extortion works, and has known about it for 2 years too, right?
From what I told her, yeah. I'm reminding her.
Then you say,
Right.
if someone's
what did he just say? He said something under his breath. Did you guys hear that? I'm going to go back. Hopefully I don't do too bad.
You also explain it to your mother how extortion works, and has known about it for 2 years too, right?
From what I told her, yeah.
From what I told her.
I'm reminding her.
Oh, I'm reminding her.
Okay. Okay. Thank
He
you.
has to remind her. Remember, they have to keep their story straight. Yeah, I'm reminding
You
her.
say,
I can't keep up with these liars. Oh my gosh. Yeah, you have to remind her. She might forget she's being,
if someone's
she might forget she's being distorted.
messing with you, they're messing with me. And if someone's messing with me, they're messing with you. It's one and the same, right?
Yes, I said that.
You're in this together, right?
We're both
Come on,
innocent.
Josh. We're both innocent. And so on that, he just pulls that out of the air. We're both innocent. What are you innocent? What is he saying he's innocent of? Like, if he was really extorted, okay, if this was really true and these other people killed Dan in order to get his money, which is, by the way, the most self-centered idea, also, not surprisingly. That's kind of an Adelson trait, isn't it? Like, I'm so important. I have so much money. They killed Dan for me, to get my money. I mean, it doesn't. Anyway, I forgot my train of thought now. I was going to say something. But it is so self-centered. And somebody made the comment about the way they were suggesting, oh gosh, this chat is moving so fast. I don't know if I'll find it. But I think about the closing, taking what he's saying. Yeah, here it is. I'll be the judge.
I'll be the judge said that.
Yeah, I believe George's closing will take everything he said on cross and then contrast it with the actual evidence.
Yep.
Probably, and that's. I feel like it's going to be Sarah, and then Georgia wraps.
I do too.
Yep, that would really be something I could see Sarah doing very well.
And I don't know about you, but don't you get the sense that he's laying some of this out there because chances are, look, let's be real. His parents are watching.
Yep. And
so they know what to say when their time comes because their time will come.
Definitely. in a sense, he's falling on the sword, because if this were to be successful, it kind of explains away everything. It would be harder. I think they would think that it'd be harder for them to go after the rest of the family.
It's
if they
kind of
can't
like
get
the
this conviction.
conversation, that little snippet that he said to Harvey in that moment.
Yeah.
Well, Harvey needs to know that way Harvey's story can align.
Right. But he also just brought Harvey in a little bit more by saying that, I think. Don't you?
I mean, he was there all along. He's just trying to set up a defense for them.
Right. Okay.
You were very obviously relieved on the wire when you came to the conclusion that this was law enforcement. Would you agree with that?
Very relieved, yeah.
All right. And at that same time, then on the wire, you're expressing relief, or I should say, shortly after all the relief expressed on the wire, we've got the arrest of Catherine Magbanua, right?
No.
No. Okay. Would you agree that it goes relief on the wire, then arrest of Catherine Magbanua?
I think this part's...
Kathy was arrested 6 months later.
I think this is really funny, the way George is like, so it's almost like a mom and her kid who's lying to her. So you're saying this, and her using her body language, again, not being snarky at all.
Okay.
But it's all how you word it. So I'll give you an example. I used to not say to my children, do you have homework? Because that would give them an opportunity to say no. But what I used to say is, what homework do you have?
Right. Exactly. So good.
Relieved on the wire, and that 6 months later, Catherine Magbanua was arrested.
She was arrested 6 months later, correct.
And 6 months later, after you were completely relieved on the wire, you begin to exhibit these extreme behavior changes that we've heard about. And what is your explanation for that?
Because I thought I'd be falsely arrested.
Whoops. Oh, this chat is going crazy. I'm trying to keep up, you guys. Thank you for all being here.
Did you encourage Catherine Magbanua to reconcile with Garcia? That's a yes or no.
Yes, for sure I did.
Was that a good decision for her or a good decision for you?
Neither.
You've heard your lawyer say that you talk a lot. Do you agree with that?
Yes, I do.
And you talk a lot on the wire, right?
Yes, I do.
Do you agree you're not a direct person?
Am I a direct person?
There's a lot of circular talking on the wire.
I mean, however you want to describe my mannerisms of talking, you're welcome to describe it.
I'll do that in closing. What I'm asking is, do you agree?
There we
that
go.
You are like that.
At least, yeah. So, I mean, I appreciate that she said that. And again, it was, even the way she says is it's upbeat, uptone, wasn't too overly aggressive.
At times I'm direct, for sure.
Do you have a way of saying things without really saying it?
No, I think I'm pretty direct with things.
Do you think you can talk your way out of this?
No, I don't. I'm not part of a murder.
Who are they going to believe, right? An oral surgeon or a gangster?
That's extorting me in my driveway and coming and threatening me.
You're untouchable, right?
No,
Well,
I'm
they
not
were
part
only
of a murder.
extorting you in your driveway. They didn't kill you.
Well, that was really smart. Who are they going to believe, an oral surgeon or a gangster? In other words, that's basically what he's saying is you should just put this whole murder idea on hold and go look at them. And then we'll, right? So who are we going to believe? Who's the jury going to believe? An oral surgeon or a gangster? It's just that theme all over again. That was brilliant. He had no answer for that.
A lot of talk about going to the police on the wire, which I think we've well established did not happen. But you've always gone to the police before, right?
I've had other things that have gone to the police for, yeah.
You've gone to the police in reference to something to do with your child's mother? Yes or no?
Yes.
You've gone to the police when you were threatened to be blackmailed over something with a woman back in 2015. Remember that?
No, I didn't go to the police.
Did you send a letter from your lawyer indicating that describing her actions as an attempted shakedown and indicating that not only will Dr. Adelson never pay a settlement, he will undoubtedly prevail and seek attorney's fees against your client?
Right. That's a civil complaint, and somebody was making an unfounded civil complaint and threatening filing a lawsuit, and an attorney handled the civil complaint. The police were never notified, but it was a civil suit.
It was somebody trying to shake you down for money.
It was a unfounded claim from a civil suit to me and another dentist that it was involving.
It was a claim that potentially had criminal implications as well, wasn't it, doctor?
For me?
Yes.
No. There was never a police investigation with that.
In 2018, did you report an aggravated assault where a vehicle was driving aggressively and narrowly avoided striking you?
I had a reporter almost kill my 10-week-old puppy dog that I was walking.
So yeah, so she's pointing out that he's kind of anti-law enforcement without saying it.
Walking because I was going for a walk in the morning and he was stalking outside my house.
In 2018, did you report an aggravated assault where a vehicle was driving aggressively and narrowly avoided striking you?
He was more able to hit my dog too, but yeah.
Do your nephews deserve to know the whole truth about who killed their father?
Yeah, now they do.
Do Danny's parents deserve to know what happened to their son?
Absolutely.
And you say you knew. I mean, you now say you knew a big piece of what happened, right?
Yes.
Do you feel bad about not volunteering that to Danny's parents?
I feel a sense of relief that now I was able to tell everybody what finally happened.
Yesterday.
That's
Almost 10
interesting
years
because
later, right?
Yeah.
he brings it around to himself.
Mm-hmm.
You know, he doesn't address her question. It's, well, I feel a sense of relief for me,
Right.
you know, not for his parents who happen to be sitting right in front of me and are watching me perjure myself. It's for me.
Right. Everything about this defense is self-centered. I mean, it's the Adelson way, evidently. I mean, I have never seen such self-centeredness. I don't think ever. I mean, we see a lot of crimes, we see a lot of trials, but the personality traits here are just, I think that's why people are just so interested in getting justice, because they're just not very likable at all, to put it lightly. Yeah, the entitlement, that's a great, sense of entitlement. They think they can get by with murder.
Because you didn't just know a big piece of it. You were a big piece of it, weren't you, doctor?
I was extorted and I knew a lot, yeah.
One moment, please, Your Honor.
I don't think anyone can say he's doing well with an answer like that. That just doesn't, that is not a, even if you are pro defense for whatever reason, I think you would have a hard time with some of his answers. Personally, I think Georgia did great. Her facial expressions are wonderful.
Mm-hmm.
You know, not angry, just spot on. Yeah. B-roll to Ruth. It's heartbreaking.
Before we redirect, do any of the members of the jury need to take a break before we continue the examination?
Do you have any innate anger with Wendy over that fact?
No, not at all.
Are you pissed that she told all that stuff to Jeff Lacoste?
I don't think she said that to Jeff, but I wasn't there.
How did Lacoste know about the celebration dinner?
That we went out to dinner. She got sick, so she may have told someone that she threw up.
And then what? He just added the part about you referring to it as a celebration?
I never referred to it as a celebration dinner. I picked my sister up I said, where do you want to go to eat? She said she wanted pizza or sushi. I said, I know a great sushi place. We went there. We didn't have reservations. We ended up sitting at the bar for an hour waiting for our table. She had 2 drinks and got sick.
She vomited on the dinner table or at the dinner table.
Yeah, she got her to the bathroom. But yeah, she doesn't drink alcohol. So those 2 drinks.
She doesn't drink alcohol. So those 2 drinks. Okay, first of all, I thought she said 3, but okay. Who? I don't believe she hadn't eaten for a month or whatever she claimed either.
Right.
Like, who would not eat for a month, go sit at a bar and have 3 drinks and sushi or pizza? I mean, wouldn't you start with toast? I don't know. It's just me.
And I think on an empty stomach, I think she got really sick. But there was no celebration dinner. It was the first time that she actually really left the house since she got back from Tallahassee. She was devastated.
Did you say something?
She
to her
has not
about-
had anything. She has not had anything to eat for a month. It was the first time she left her house because she was in such fear. But he knows that where she's getting ready to move to are where the danger is, but he still doesn't say anything to her.
Yeah, and they didn't bring bodyguards with them or anything. They just went out to a
Right.
restaurant and got drunk
Right.
before eating. Making this like, yeah. Look at George's face right now, that freeze frame. It's just so consistent and perfect. I love it. I will say, what was the name of the other attorney that was helping Rashbaum?
Oh, Kate Myers.
Kate Myers. She kept putting her pen in her mouth. Did you see that? It made
Yeah.
I can't deal with that. I can't deal with that.
the murder of Dan Markel right before she vomited?
Absolutely not.
Do you remember what you said right before she vomited?
She was probably, I think she said, I don't feel well.
I'm really glad she asked that question. I think she asked that question for me, actually. Because I was really always suspected. And I was very, when I went through her interrogate or her police interview at Wendy's police interview, and Jeffries and all that, and this all came up. I always wondered, I always felt like he said something about Dan's condition or some detail that made her sick.
And you know what's interesting? If I remember correctly, and you guys all keep me honest, didn't Jeff Lacoste say that Wendy drinks? Oh, there we go. There we go. Yes. Thank you,
Yes.
Sean.
He did. Yep. That's why it all came up.
Right.
And I say, oh no. And then she threw up.
Before that,
No, I think I said, oh no. And then she threw up.
before she announced that she was going to be ill,
Right.
do you remember what the conversation was?
He has Duper's delight smile right now. He's finding this amusing.
Just
Mhm.
how's the food?
Just like he
I mean,
finds the comments
about
that
halfway through
Donna
there.
makes amusing.
If you look at the timetable, we weren't there long.
Why did you brag to Jeffrey Lacoste about your connection to the Cuban criminal element?
Never said that to Jeff Lacoste.
So he's making that up?
You're
If he said
welcome.
it, I never said it.
Well, you were in here when he said it, weren't you?
I heard him say it, yeah. But I never said that to him.
I think with this statement, Dawn, I think what made her sick is guilty knowledge. I think Wendy, it hit her. And it's just that guilty knowledge at the very least. I mean, if we're talking psych, my first undergrad is in psychology. I originally wanted to work with the criminally insane, believe it or not. At the very least, it would be constructive, what's called constructive knowledge. That is just internally, it's steering and steering and steering you up. So it's definitely, in my opinion, what made her sick and it finally caught up is that guilty knowledge.
I mean, it could be, but it's interesting that Georgia doesn't think so. And it may be that they have some evidence, they were being monitored really closely they were suspects
I
from,
don't know. I keep
this
thinking
is a
that.
month after the death. And
Yeah.
so, and Wendy cut off conversation with the police in Tallahassee immediately. And she was back in Miami, and then she wasn't leaving the house, probably for that reason. She didn't want to get arrested.
And you know what I keep coming back to, you guys, Dawn and everyone. So they have all of these text messages, right? So if Charlie's going back to whenever, etc. Why aren't we seeing anything when it comes to Wendy, Charlie, and Donna talking? Is it because they were using WhatsApp back then? I don't use that app, so I don't know how it works, but is it because of that?
Well, I believe so. And I also believe, oh, I'm sorry. I did not realize that banner was so big. Let me get rid of it. I believe it was WhatsApp or burner phones that they had. I think Wendy did. I think she was smart about using burner phones. And I know you can still trace burner phones, but I think she was smart enough to know how to do that without them being found. But WhatsApp too. Yeah. And that's a long time ago. So I don't think they're going to get that back. But anyway, but that would have had the conversation at the table wouldn't have been on the phone or anything like that. It would have been somebody listening in like there was at the other restaurants. I don't know if
But
they
I don't
were
think
that under that
wasn't
kind of
back then there was the head prosecutor, like what would have been
Right.
Georgia's, wasn't that guy at one point protecting the Adelsons because of the political connections?
Yeah, it was the DA, I believe, or somebody else. But Willie Meggs is who you're talking
Yes.
about, who didn't. But that doesn't mean they weren't investigating him. And that doesn't mean the FBI wasn't. They're interested in this case. The FBI wanted to take it. So just because he said they're not going to take it doesn't mean that the police weren't still watching them. After all, this was a terrible murder. So they could have still been watching them. But anyway, I don't think Georgia would ask a question like that if she didn't either have something or have a direction in mind. And it's just my gut feeling that he was joking around some graphic details and it made her sick. I mean, I can't even imagine what he would have said. He's so gross. Pregnant pause. I like the pauses too.
On one of these calls, and it's in the context of talking about Dave and Wendy's relationship with Dave, you tell your mom that you've already gone above and beyond for Wendy. Was that a reference to having her ex murdered?
No, that's me getting tired of this Dave stuff. I mean, Dave's a great guy. I mean, everyone who meets him likes him. He's not only super successful, but he's very low key, like t-shirts and jeans kind of guy. And he loved my sister's kids. I mean,
Wow.
How the glowing review that Dave gets compared to Dan, who's dead. I mean, I guess he didn't think about putting that part in his story.
I mean, if you listen to The Wire, the point I was making is not how successful it is for a crime that I didn't commit.
Do you have any innate anger with Wendy over that fact?
No, not at all.
Are you pissed that she told all that stuff to Jeff Lacoste?
I don't think she said that to Jeff, but I wasn't there.
How did Lacoste know about the celebration dinner?
That we went out to dinner. She got sick, so she may have told someone that she threw up.
And then what? He just added the part about you referring to it as a celebration?
I never referred to it as a celebration dinner. I picked my sister up. I said, "Where do you want to go to eat?" She said she wanted pizza or sushi. I said, "I know a great sushi place." We went there. We didn't have reservations. We ended up sitting at the bar for an hour waiting for our table. She had 2 drinks and got sick.
She vomited on the dinner table.
Oh,
Or at the dinner
sorry,
table.
we got a
got
little
her to the
skip.
bathroom, but yeah, she doesn't drink alcohol. So those 2 drinks.
That
I think,
part
on an
just
empty
kills me.
I think she got really sick. But there was no celebration dinner. It was the first time that she actually really left the house since she got back from Tallahassee. She was devastated.
Did you say something to her about the murder of Dan Markel right before she vomited?
Absolutely not.
Do you remember what you said right before she vomited?
She was I think she said, "I don't feel well." And I say, "Oh no." And then she threw up.
Before that?
No, I think I said, "Oh no." And then she threw up.
before she announced that she was going to be ill.
Right.
Do you remember what the conversation was?
Just how's the food? I mean, we're probably about halfway through dinner. If you look at the timetable, we weren't there long.
Why did you brag to Jeffrey Lacoste about your connection to the Cuban criminal element?
Never said that to Jeff Lacoste.
So he's making that up?
If he said it, I never said it.
Well, you were in here when he said it, weren't you?
I heard him say it, yeah. But I never said that to him.
On one of these calls, and it's in the context of talking about Dave and Wendy's relationship with Dave, you tell your mom that you've already gone above and beyond for Wendy. Was that a reference to having her ex murdered?
No, that's me getting tired of this Dave stuff. I mean, Dave's a great guy. I mean, everyone who meets him likes him. He's not only super successful, but he's very low key. Like,
What does Dave do for a living? Does anybody
My
know?
sister's
I can't remember. He had a business. I can't remember.
And does he look like Dan, like Jeff did?
No, I believe he was Hispanic or partly
Okay.
Hispanic. Darker hair.
kids. I mean,
I don't think he
if
looked
you
like Dan
listen
at
to The
all.
Wire, the point I was making is not how successful he is. The point I was making is that my nephews farted on him, and he thought it was funny and didn't bother him. And he also has 3 young
Sorry,
kids.
we had to
the
go
same
through that twice.
Ages as my sister's 2 young kids. They actually met in line when my sister was registering the kids for school, and it was they've been friends for years. So I thought it was a great opportunity for my sister to have a great guy in her life. And I was getting sick and tired of Dave calls, and The Wire started in April. My sister's birthday's in April. Dave's birthday's in April. So you got a ton of Dave chatter on this case. But believe
It's interesting the words sometimes he's using chatter like he's aware of, terminology that somebody in law enforcement would use. That's not a word I would use. We were talking about Dave all the time. They would have picked that up. I would not think to use the word chatter.
me,
He did that a
I'd go
couple
crazy
times
if I
with
was
other
talking
words.
about Dave like this all year long.
So that's a no. You did not reference having her ex murdered
Absolutely not.
when you said
No.
you've already gone above and beyond.
No,
for
that was
Wendy.
me getting sick of dealing with the Dave stuff. As great as the guy as he is, I was still getting sick of it.
When the $1 million offer was conceived, do you recall whose idea that was?
My parents.
Why was the relocation worth $1 million?
Well, it was actually I was going to pay a third, so I only looked at it as that way. Why was it worth it?
That's the question.
Because it was going to help my sister out, and it was going to give her a good opportunity for a good job down here, and she was going to be around family, and family's important, so that's why.
Isn't it true that financially you came out ahead on this deal as opposed to if you had coughed up the third of the $1 million offer?
How in the world did I come up ahead? This is the craziest thing.
Financially, you paid $138,000, then you paid $2,000 a month plus the $1,000 payroll amount. You're still about over $100,000 ahead financially than if you had coughed up the $333K.
No, I would have been better off paying. And first of all, I never paid for murders. This is a crazy question, but paying.
You almost got caught there. So now we're talking about, this is Adelson talk here. Should we repair the TV or not? Should we pay the extortion or just murder? That's basically, it's a financial transaction.
$3,000 a month.
The Adelsons love their TVs.
I mean, she's pinning him on this. He did slip up right away. That was a really good question.
It's not anything anybody wants to do.
I didn't say anything about paying for a murder. I said you paid
See?
$138,000, which you did.
I got extorted for $330,000.
I mean, that was brilliant.
And then you paid, but you didn't pay the $330,000.
Right, because I didn't have it. I had to clean it out my safe, and that was what was in my safe that night.
All right.
Okay.
Can we agree
Sure.
that Wendy was stressed out about the issues surrounding her divorce?
I think the divorce caused stress in her life, yes.
And you were hearing about it from your mother, weren't you?
Yeah, I would hear.
Wendy's totally stressed out. Yesterday was a rough one, that sort of thing.
Yes, it's like I said it before, is that my sister would tell my mom a story. I'd be sitting in the car driving. My mom would be talking to me and telling me the latest story of the day. And that's how I found out a lot.
And then on 2/19 of 14, Donna texts you again to tread lightly with Wendy and refers to Dan Markel as an asshole and a fucker, right?
Sorry. You made me laugh. Sorry.
That's what I'm here for. Is that what happened? That text?
Did my mom use a foul word to describe him?
Yes, sir. Asshole and fucker, to be specific.
It's
There are no words.
It's a 6-year-old here. I mean, he can't. It's so brilliant that she asked. She knew this was going to happen. This was awesome. But listen to what he does.
She used a curse word, correct?
Is that pretty strong language for your mom, or is that how she speaks?
That's how she speaks.
It is pretty strong language, but I think I've been called a lot worse, but.
By your mother? See what he's saying? He's been called a lot worse by his mother? I sure hope not. I can honestly say my mother has never called.
Ditto.
I mean, listen, my mom used a curse word. She used a curse word.
He's really having a hard time with this. She's just going to let him talk.
Use curse words too. So.
Was Wendy less stressed? Was Wendy less stressed out once all this litigation was over?
That's a great question.
No, she was a million times more stressed out.
Oh, of course.
Right. Wendy, the drama.
Was she better off financially?
There may have been some, but not much. I don't think so.
Was she able to stop paying her?
I mean, that wasn't a hard no, so that was somewhat truthful.
$800 an hour divorce lawyers?
Yes.
Did she get $2.7 million in benefits for her children plus $4,800 a month for the boys' benefit?
No, as far as I know, that money was in trust and it's controlled by Dan Markel's sister. So none of that money, you keep saying it like the money went to her. The money's in trust for the kids, and that money never went to her.
Some of it went to her and some of it was in trust for the kids, right?
I don't know the breakdown, but I know the
He certainly knows more than my brother would know about my finances. He certainly knows enough. Fell for it again. He's fallen for this.
And the distancing, the distance, it's being controlled by Dan Markel's sister. Well, come on.
Right. And he does, and the way he says Dan Markel's sister, again, so cold, like who's sitting there in the gallery because you're on trial for murdering him. Let's talk about that. Anyway, yeah, this is he's falling for some of these things that Georgia is asking, though, is to my point, because he could very easily, I mean, my brother knows nothing about my finances. He could just say, I don't know anything about her finances.
It's in trust for the children.
He knows a lot.
Right. It's for the benefit of the boys, but it has to come through her because they're children, right?
Well,
she gets disbursements, right?
It has to go through the executor of the trust. And my sister's not the executor of the trust.
No, sir. I'm not saying she is. When the executor of the trust disperses money for the benefit of the boys, it gets dispersed to Wendy, right?
See, you know more than I know.
Did you have trouble sleeping after the murder?
After I was extorted, for sure.
Did Katie text you on 12/19 of 15? Sorry, we have problems sleeping and shit. We do have a lot of weight on our shoulders.
Did she text me that?
Did she text you that?
I mean, she may have, but it sounds about right.
Do you want to look at the text?
I can look at it, sure.
Oh, here we go. I might have to take my earphones.
Which one?
Glasses. You can look around for context if you want, but I'm looking at page 2 of this exhibit, and it's got a little box around it.
Thanks.
And if that refreshes your recollection, the question is, did she send it?
Yeah.
I want to go over a little bit some of the payments or gifts that you gave to Catherine Magbanwa. We've heard a lot about her being put on the payroll at the Adelson Institute, and she made this demand to you when you met her to give her the first extortion payment on the payment plan. Is that correct?
She didn't make a demand. When I gave her the $3,000 for her friend, she asked me if I could do her a favor and put her on payroll for $1,000 a month so that she could get insurance for her kids. She was going to cash the check, and the money was still going to her friend. So that money wasn't going to her. She was getting insurance for her
And
kids.
did you believe her that she would give the money from the paychecks to the friend?
I believe what she was saying to me, yeah.
Isn't it true that Catherine Magbanwa actually asked you to place her on the payroll back in June prior to this extortion effort?
I don't know if I put her on payroll. She asked me if I could put her as something when I was dating her, put her as something on the office so she could get insurance. But I never did.
And that was in June.
Yeah, I remember she'd asked me about it before, but I never did anything.
There's Ruth.
In June 24th of 2014, she says, "Baby, I'm going to need help on the employment
Baby.
info. I have to send to
Oh, they're
DCF
still
for my
dating.
kids' insurance.
Nauseating.
Also, if I have to end up moving later on, I need to show I'm working for you, or else I won't be able to get an apartment." To which you respond, "No problem." Remember that?
Yeah, but I wasn't thinking she was asking about payroll. I think she was asking just to say that she worked there, so that we'd sign a letter saying that she was employed. But that doesn't say anything about writing checks to her.
And that request was made in between the 2 trips that the killers made.
That
Correct.
request, well, she asked me if I could do that for her while I was dating her, and I never even did it.
And did she ask if you could do that in between the 2 trips that the killers made?
I didn't know when they went up, but I found out later that they went up in June.
All right, so that email would
Weeks before the bump, because I had this connection at a place called the Moorings that I could get like a really great price at a really affordable price for how nice the place is. And I said I was going to make some calls and help her out and get it. And then I ended up giving her $300 for when she picked up that bag at my house. I put $300 in it and I got her a hotel room.
Is that a yes? You remember that conversation?
Yeah, I did.
Is that a
She
yes?
didn't want the trip. In the text messages, she's saying like, "No thanks," and you're kind of forcing it down her throat. Do you agree with that?
Yeah, because actually it's funny at that time in the wire, I was trying to see if Katie and him were together or they weren't together. So that's why I kept asking, how are things? Are you guys okay? Because if they were fighting, it was making me think more and more that the reason she was avoiding me was because she found out that he was the one who was doing the second extortion again. So I was trying to figure out if it was him and if she was lying to me.
In this case, she says, "I don't want to do anything." And you say, "You know what? F that. You're going there. You're going to have a good time."
For sure. I was trying to do nice things for her.
Then did you pay for a trip or offer
Avoiding you.
to pay for a trip to Santo Domingo for Catherine Magbanwa and Sigfredo Garcia to visit his parents?
I didn't know who she was going with, but I paid for it. You're talking about airline tickets?
Yes.
She called me up. She had an emergency. Something happened. She booked tickets for the wrong date. I had no idea who in the family she was going with. And she had no money. And I remember I was in Chicago. I was at a friend's wedding, and I took out my credit card and I gave her the credit card number and let her book tickets. I thought she was going with her kids.
So is that a
What a nice guy. So is that a yes?
yes? You paid.
Oh,
for
yeah,
the
no,
trip to
I remember
Santo
that well.
Domingo. So
For
go
sure.
quicker if we could just
I'm sorry.
answer the question.
What's the objection?
Argumentative.
Overruled.
BS. The lawyers have the right to, I mean, she could have just said that was a yes or no question. She's totally within her rights to say that.
And
Yeah,
the tone of Judge Everett's voice, what's the object? Like, tell me why you're objecting. Get
Right,
to
he
it.
just-
Don't just say
yeah.
objection.
Right.
He's my spirit animal.
I love him. He's good. We've had really good judges on all these trials in Tallahassee. So far. Okay. Good night, T. Cancello. Thanks for
Did
being
you offer to buy Catherine Magbanua and her mom a cruise?
Yes, Katie had mentioned to me that she always wanted to be able to take her mom on a cruise. So I offered, but she never took me up on it.
Did you call in prescriptions for Catherine Magbanua?
She was a patient of record at my office.
Did you pay for a meal service for Catherine Magbanua?
Yeah, I did.
Did you pay for car repairs for her?
Yeah, all this stuff was making me think she was broke. So yes, you're right.
Did you offer that she could use your Range Rover anytime?
I said she could borrow the car, sure.
Did she talk about getting a boat and you offered to help her get a boat?
I never offered to help her get a boat. I offered to help her look for a boat.
Did you pay for the breast augmentation?
No.
It almost sounded on that wiretap like he was trying to sell his boat to this chick. I'm
Right.
like, dude. Yeah, he didn't. I don't know. She didn't.
No part of the breast augmentation.
Not at all.
So when she's saying at the same time she's the day of the breast augmentation, can I just put it on the credit card? Is she referring? Can I just put it on your credit card? Is she referring to something else, some other expense?
I have no idea what she's referring to, but I did not pay for her boob job.
What about
She says breast augmentation. This dude says boot. I mean, so unsophisticated, this family.
this birthday gift for Sigfredo Garcia? What was the bonsai tree in the bag? What was that all about?
Oh, she had asked me, and it's on a wire. It's on 420, where she says, "Can you get me some bud from Bud?" My next door neighbor's Bud, and she asked me if I could get some marijuana from my next door neighbor for her. So that's what. When I
Oh,
said
good.
bonsai tree,
I'm sure his neighbor is thrilled.
I mean, yeah, right. Thanks, dude. I mean, again, he's just, I don't know why people think the cross is weak, because she's allowing the jury to see who this dude really is. I mean, this is the way he rolls. He's got gangsters out, dead gangsters in his driveway. He's buying pot from the guy next door. And just as crass as can be, laughs every time someone says the F word. I mean,
she asked me, and I got her a little bit of
He's-
marijuana from my next door neighbor.
she's exposing the clown show. And by the way, when we see this on a low resolution video, it's almost like having a filter on. He doesn't look as bad as he does there, because I did see some close-ups with really good cameras from some of the like the news channels who have really high quality equipment, and he looked bad. I mean, it was how when you see somebody who just looks so close up of his skin, his eyes, he didn't shave. He did not shave for Friday. He shaved Thursday, and so it was just not a good look at all. So
think about it. He's not sleeping. I mean, the guilt of this, it's taking its toll clearly.
Well, for sure, but I'm just saying the jury's going to see a much worse version of him than we're even seeing here.
Yeah, good point.
That's what I meant. He's not looking like a polished professional.
And you said, I don't know
For
what
whatever
a married
reason.
man with kids would want for his birthday, but you did your best. I did my best.
I was being completely, by the way, I was being completely sarcastic. I never would get Sigfredo Garcia a present in my life.
And you thought you
In
hit it
my
out of
life.
the park with the weed and the gift card. Did you say that?
Well, give me a little more context.
The context is you don't know what a married man with kids would want for his birthday, but you did your best and you think you hit it out of the park.
No, I was being completely sarcastic because she had asked me for that marijuana 2 weeks earlier, and I gave it to her. And then I was joking around when I gave it to her. I didn't want him to think that I was hooking up with her. So I started to joke around about it. And then I was like, maybe you can just tell him it was from me, because I didn't want him to think that I'm hooking up with Katie, and that's why I gave it to her.
Can we agree in general
Answer
that
for
it's
everything.
important to maintain positive feelings between co-conspirators? If you're a co-conspirator with someone in a crime, you want to keep positive relationship with that person.
I mean, here again, just lovely as can be. Can we agree in general that if you're conspiring together, this might also be the reason for these?
You agree with that?
Right.
I'm not a co-conspirator with her.
Okay, I'm saying in general. Can you agree in general that co-conspirators in a crime want to stay friendly with each other?
I'm
Did
not
you know
a
how this
co-conspirator with
goes?
her.
All right, can't agree to that. If a co-conspirator develops a motive to harm another one, that could be bad, right?
Co-conspirator. Say it again.
Say, a husband and wife do a murder together. And then 10 years later, they've gotten away with it, but 10 years later, they
That's
fall
nice.
out. That could be a problem.
She's
Somebody
talking
might
about
start
his
talking,
parents.
right?
I was never part of a murder.
Well, I think she's trying to get him to think too in terms of what I was saying earlier, well, let's just finish this out. I want to let her keep going, because I love how flummoxed he is right now. I don't want to blow it.
Were these gifts, these things that you provided to Catherine Magbanua and her mother and Sigfredo Garcia payment for the murder?
Okay. I never got Sigfredo a gift in my life. The guy absolutely hates me. He wants to kill me. He stalked me. He extorted me. Like, that was being.
I love how Wendy and he bandy around the term stalking as if it was an ongoing thing. Stalking means a long-term process, not, okay, one time he saw her at a restaurant and with him and was going to go psycho on him. That's not stalking. And then Wendy accused Dan of stalking her. I mean, come on.
Completely sarcastic, and sometimes I make some bad jokes, but that's even when I wrote he wanted to take me deep sea fishing, I knew he wanted to kill me. Like, you have that text too. I didn't think we were going deep sea fishing.
On April 6th of 2015, did you receive a text from Catherine Magbanua that reads, "Next time, don't be such a dick to someone who has done something for you"?
Yeah, she's protecting me, and she's mad at me over something.
Are these gifts what it took to secure her silence for so long?
No, absolutely not. I was never trying to get her silence. I was hoping she'd tell the truth.
Was your dad's birthday in between the two trips that the killers took?
Yeah, my dad's birthday is July 5th.
And what birthday was that for him?
It was his 70th birthday party.
All right, so there's been a lot of talk about the texting between you and your mom about the birthday. And she texts you on March 4th of 2014 and says she can't talk now, but she'll call when she goes to the bathroom in Gainesville and has privacy. She tells you to erase that text after you read it. Why did she have you erase that text?
Okay, if you look at the records, I never erased the text.
Well, why did she ask you? If you know, you may not know.
Maybe she's afraid my dad's looking at her phone and would find out about the president. It made no sense to me. That's why I was like, I didn't erase anything.
How is you erasing the text going to prevent your dad from seeing it on your mom's phone?
Well, if my dad looked at my mom's phone, then he'd see the text and maybe know what she's planning for his birthday.
You weren't with dad. She was with dad, just to clarify.
Yeah, she was with my dad.
And the text that she asked you to erase, that particular text didn't say anything about a birthday or paella. Can we agree on that?
No, not, but I knew what it was about.
20 minutes later, she texts again and asks something about Dad's birthday. Do you remember that?
Yeah, I know we were trying to plan a surprise cruise. That was the original idea.
Okay, and the paella is mentioned elsewhere, not in this particular thread that we're talking about now.
Yeah, we ended up,
Was paella the big birthday gift?
yeah, I paid for the catering for the whole party.
Then 3 months later, on June 8th, just after midnight, you text her, quote, still working on Dad's birthday present. Was that in reference to the paella guy?
Possibly what I was also getting was a present. I mean, it's been 10 years, so I don't know exactly what I got him 10 years ago on his birthday.
And then
Or
at
what I was
1
thinking about.
a.m., I'm sorry, you weren't done.
No, or what I was thinking about getting him.
And then at 1 a.m., Mom texts you back, I know you'll, and I think she was in Israel, so that may account for the time, but she texts you, quote, I know you'll come through for me. Is that what she said?
That's what the text said, yeah.
Can we agree the timing of these texts is consistent with being sent the day after the killers got home from their failed June murder trip?
No, it's consistent with the few weeks before my dad's birthday and trying to figure out what we're going to get him.
Why didn't
Oh.
you go to Dan's?
He did not like that. Again, she's asking very important questions for what she knows, right? And his response is very telling. He's frustrated by this.
100%. Yep. She's getting to him.
She is. And you guys in the chat, I'm trying really hard to highlight certain comments, but the chat's moving so fast that I'll click one and then it's not the one I thought. It's going so fast. So I'm doing my best. Yeah, it is. It's comical. It's absolutely comical. I just love that she really got him under his skin here. And yes, and then the Williams trial, people in Tallahassee would be familiar with what happened there too. So that was a really good point. So we're thinking also, because my throat's getting kind of sore. I've done pretty well though. My laryngitis is almost gone. I mean, it's gone now. So I'm so happy. I wasn't sure how long my throat would hold up tonight, but since it's getting late, we made good progress with this. I know I can come back tomorrow night. We'll see if Carla can as well. So but we'll go another maybe 10 minutes. Does that sound good? We'll finish at 9. And then I really want to finish this before Monday though, because that's why I want to come back tomorrow night.
Yeah, we have
Probably
to.
Yeah, there we go. All right. It's a commitment. So let's do a few more minutes.
Funeral.
In Canada?
I think there were some in Tallahassee and in Canada as well.
I know there was a
But did you go
memorial.
to either?
There was a memorial service here.
Did you go to that?
No, I didn't attend. I knew what had happened to him, and there's no way I could have shown up. I would have been too upset.
Mr. Dubin, your lawyer that was here.
I mean, that's probably where we should stop. That's just sickening. You know, that he didn't go to, he would have been too upset to go to Dan's funeral, memorial.
Seems like a long time ago at jury selection said, you know, people have different ways of grieving and that sort of thing. Were you grieving for the death of Dan Markel?
I felt horrible about what happened, and I knew it happened.
When did you?
I wasn't close to him.
Hmm.
But either way, I mean, I felt horrible about what happened.
When did you find out exactly how he was killed? Meaning like shot twice in the head.
I found out, it would have been the next morning is how I found out he got shot in the head.
Do you agree that this was a first-degree murder?
Do I agree? Oh,
Planned, premeditated?
the people who killed him planned on killing him, yeah.
Do you think everyone involved should be convicted?
I think everyone involved should be convicted.
Even the person that hired the hit?
I think anybody who played a role in it, but I wasn't a part of it.
Do you regret
He couldn't say yes to that. He could not say yes to that.
that Dan Markel suffered for 14 hours before he died?
I feel horrible.
He was supposed to die quickly, instantly, right?
Are you asking me?
I am.
No, he wasn't supposed to die at all. This was horrible what happened.
Did it surprise
So he's saying it's horrible, but he's showing no grief. He's showing no sense that he really feels that this is horrible.
you that the cops were able to identify the Prius?
Did it surprise me?
Yes.
I'm not a cop. I don't know how cops investigate.
Did it surprise you to learn that it?
Again, I'm not a cop. She asked whether it surprised you. Again, these are really good questions.
It's not a requirement of law to put the person at the scene of the crime to be guilty of a crime.
Listen, I'm not a police detective.
Was the police work in this case
It's
thorough?
interesting he says that, but yet on the flip side, he is a detective because he knows how they work, you know? So it's when it's convenient for him.
Right. I mean, it's just interesting that he can't answer those questions. That shows consciousness of guilt. And those are really good questions. Ugh, really good questions. Okay. I am going to show the June video before we go. So let's do a pause here. And we will finish this tomorrow, but hold on, you guys, because I'm going to show, because I don't think a lot of you guys saw this. And it's just a better way to end the evening after, especially this part right here where it's very sad. So let's get a little comedic relief from the testimony of June. Let me put this on pause. Hold on. Okay.
By the way, she's not a happy camper on social media. She's letting Nancy and I think Judy have it.
Yeah, I saw that. I did see that. She is, and that is really, that really shows me a lot about who she is. It's not, even though some of this is funny, what I'm going to be showing, because it's just kind of funny the way she is. It's not funny at all when you think about that those social media posts. Like, yeah. All right. Yeah, she's not happy. She doesn't evidently believe he's guilty. I mean, or she doesn't care. She almost does seem like he's guilty, right? So here we go. Here's what we got to end with. It seems kind of quiet.
No, it's good. I swear, no matter how many times I watch this.
For the courthouse. Please raise your right hand, ma'am. Do you swear or affirm the testimony you're about to give will be the truth?
I do.
You may take your seat.
State your name and spell your name.
Hi, I'm June. I'm Chinda. It's June first name, last name Umchinda.
You don't have to, I don't think you're gonna have to lean that close. To the
Oh,
microphone.
okay.
Just let you know if we can hear you.
Perfect. Like that.
Where do you live, ma'am?
I'm in South Florida.
Do you know Charlie Adelson?
I'm sorry. It was my alarm to come here, down here.
Is it silence now?
Yeah.
Okay. Sorry.
Wait, let me just check if it's, I'm so sorry.
It's okay.
I don't want it to snooze. Okay.
I mean, this is a real trial here.
Do you know Charlie Adelson?
I do.
How do you know him? And are you familiar with what we mean when we say the bump?
Is that the money extortion thing?
Is that the money extortion?
And do you still have feelings for Mr. Adelson as we sit here today?
So he's my last serious boyfriend, so I would say yes. Sorry. Has he ever told me a lie?
Yeah.
He has, yes.
She's told you to lie?
Oh, I thought you said a lie.
Has Charlie ever told you to lie?
No, never.
No further questions.
He looked like he was going to pee his pants there.
Right.
Scared him.
So, I'm sorry, the last question one more time because now I forgot it.
I have forgotten it as well.
Tell you that he had purchased a vehicle for Ms. McDaniel or given her a vehicle?
He didn't tell me, but I saw that in the 2020 thing and asked him about it.
Okay, and he admitted he gave her a vehicle.
He said his father, it was an old car that his father,
Did he give
Cancer.
her a vehicle?
I don't know.
And this exit. They had to tell her twice to go, by the way. I don't know if you caught that.
She's at a murder trial. I mean, good God. Someone said on one of the chats, I forget, but they said June was carrying her wedding dress because she thought she was going to the courthouse to marry him.
Oh, it's really people that are not real bright are actually dangerous, can be really dangerous, right? Because they just not. Anyway, with that, a couple chuckles. Can't make this stuff up. I didn't make any of this up. Didn't have to. So yeah, it's just crazy. Well, you guys have really made the chat fun. I tried to highlight as many as I could. And if I missed you, I'm so sorry about that, but we'll be back tomorrow. I don't think I can be back tomorrow until like 8:30 at night, my time though. We'll see. So that's a little bit later tomorrow night, but looks like you guys are night owls. I am for sure. And I'll check with Carla. We'll talk after the show and get ourselves together tomorrow, and I'll put up a notification. So make sure you have the bell selected. Am I in Minnesota? No, I'm from Wisconsin. Do I sound like Minnesota? Like I am Midwestern? Yes. I'm from Wisconsin, and I was recently there for almost a month, and so my accent gets really thick when I visit there. So yeah. Okay, guys, my voice is definitely on its way out. So thanks again so much for joining us, and we'll see you tomorrow night. And
Good night, guys.
hope for justice. Justice soon. Bye for now.
Bye.